I call this special meeting of the Washington County Quorum Court to order. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, and it's very important to me that everybody be heard and get a chance to speak. But having said that, we have an ordinance also that sets out rules, and we have 15 minutes of public comment right after we adopt the agenda and do preliminary motions. But we will also have 12 minutes of public comment before we vote on any ordinance or resolution. And I hope that if people still want to speak after those times are up, I'm hoping my colleagues will make a motion to suspend the rules and allow that to happen, because as I said, it's very important to me that everyone gets to be heard. So next up, we have the prayer and the pledge. Washington County has an ordinance that requires that we have prayer at the beginning of the meeting, but tonight we're having 30 seconds of individual silent prayer or meditation, or thinking about the work ahead of us tonight, whatever you want to do. I'm going to start the 30 seconds, and when that's over, J.P. Dennis is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Dennis?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have to elect the chair. Huh? You have to elect the chair. Oh. So since Judge Patrick Deakins is not here tonight, we need to elect someone to chair this committee. Judge Deakins asked me to. I'm happy to, but if someone else wants to, I'm also happy for that. So I'll leave it up to you. Oh. Oh.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Beth Koger to chair the evening.
Okay, we have a motion for me, Beth Koger, to chair the meeting. We have a second by J.P. Butch Pond. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. Okay, so I'm going to be chair tonight, and I appreciate that. Next up is the adoption of the agenda. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt tonight's agenda.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt the agenda as it is, made by J.P. Ecke, seconded by J.P. Dean. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay. The agenda has been adopted. Next up, we have preliminary motions. Are there any preliminary motions?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that all ordinances and resolutions be read by title only.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion made by J.P. Dean, seconded by J.P. Lyons, that we read the ordinances by title only. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay, so we will do that. Next up is public comment. And like I said, it's 15 minutes. And for those who are able, if you could go ahead and make a line, and that if you want to speak, if you're not able, that's okay, if you need to set. But I think it would kind of move things along, maybe a little smoother if we had people lining up to speak. And I do want everyone to get a chance to speak. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Lester, and I am speaking on behalf of myself and the Ward family, whom I share residence. We are about 500 feet from the proposed site. I want to thank the JPs who have physically come out to our property. Again, thank you for physically seeing the proposed site and how it's going to impact our lives. We do truly appreciate you taking the time to do that. This site is incompatible with the existing zoning and land use in our area. We live in a rural, agricultural, single-family zoned area. Our property supports beekeeping. We would be highly impacted by the 24/7 industrial facility, high-powered lighting, the dust, the constant activity. It just doesn't align with this environment. The air quality is a serious concern. O'Brien still remains in litigation over similar issues at their Gentry plant. This history matters when you are considering whether to introduce this risk to us. We're very concerned about the heavy truck traffic increasing on our narrow rural roads. The proposed highway turnout does not meet safe roadway standards for the volume and weight of these industrial trucks. This puts families and local drivers at risk. The stream on the proposed site flows directly into Prairie Grove. Pollution does not stop at jurisdictional boundaries. Runoff affects the city's drainage systems, recreational areas such as Bobkid Lake, which is less than 1,000 feet from the proposed site, and most importantly, the health of our nearby residents. Our property values will probably decline with this heavy industrial moves in. Our neighbors, my family who've invested into rural homes and farmland, we would bear the financial loss. This decision is not just about one parcel of land, it's about protecting the character, the safety, and the long-term health of our community. So we respectfully ask you to deny any approval of this plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Koger and members of the court. I'm Steve Zega. Most of you all know me. I'm an attorney. I represent some of the surrounding landowners. I live in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I want to give you three numbers that I think will define this particular issue tonight. Those three numbers are 91, 530, and 3. 91 is the number of labels that the Washington County Planning Office gave me as the representative of the appellants to mail out. That is 91 different owners of land in the 1/2 mile radius of this proposed project. One of those landowners is O'Brien. They want you to vote yes, clearly. One of those landowners is the veterinary clinic that is across 62, more or less, from this proposed use. That owner of that particular business said if you allow this particular CUP to go forward, he's going to have to shut down his veterinary clinic and move it from that location because he cannot treat sick and injured animals across the street from a concrete plant. But that gets to the next point, 5:30. 5:30 is the time of day on the application that was submitted to the planning office that they would earliest be starting. Well, one of the neighbors who is familiar with concrete pressed the owner, the O'Brien folks, at the Planning Commission meeting and said, you can't transport concrete in the summertime beginning at 5:30 in the morning to remote job sites and expect it not to start to set. So at the Planning Commission meeting, Mr. O'Brien said, well, yeah, we might be forced to start as early as 3. That's the third number, 3 in the morning in the summertime. I can tell you that the folks in Gentry would tell you that they are starting sometimes as early as 2 in the morning. Now, I suspect that the attorney for O'Brien will tell you that there's not going to be any dust, there's not going to be any noise, there's not going to be any bright light at night that's going to disturb the neighbors. I respectfully disagree with that as a matter of fact. And I think you can make your own judgment about that. Your fundamental question tonight is compatibility. Is this compatible? There are 80, at least, farms, homes, or farms and homes within a half-mile radius of this property. Into that environment, O'Brien proposes to introduce loud noises. They're saying it's just a conversation. I respectfully disagree. Dust and bright light at night that is not already in that environment. This is the definition of incompatibility. Members of the court, while you listen to the presentations tonight, I urge you to remember the number of residents into which O'Brien proposes to drop this plant. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Christine Keller. I live in western Washington County, outside of the city limits of Lincoln. I have 3 adult children that drive that route every morning to get to work in Fayetteville. So they'd be driving past this, and I'm concerned about the traffic that's not a good, that curve is dangerous. Trucks coming in and out right when they're going to be driving by there. I just think it's a traffic concern. But I wonder why we even have zoning laws if they're not even enforced in this case. Like, it's not compatible with the zoning. And I'm sure you've heard all the arguments, so I don't want to bore everybody with more, but I just want to register that I'm opposed to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name is Jenny Sparkman. I live on Bobcat Lake Road with my husband, Ralph. We fully expected this to be our home for the rest of our lives, and my husband is a recent lung cancer survivor and also subsequently has some COPD issues. We have all this documented, and from his doctors that we will have to sell our home if this is passed. He cannot be exposed to that kind of dust with the proximity that we are to the house. So, and actually our next door neighbor, who's a little bit older than us even, is in the very same boat. You know, we're talking about literally having to uproot our lives and move from the place that we love if this is passed. So I would beg you not to. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for hearing us. My name's Lindy Phillips. I've lived in Prairie Grove for the last 12 years. I'm a local business owner, local farmer, proud Prairie Grove square dance coach. If you've ever been out to see our square dance, it's something special. I wanted to, I know y'all are so familiar with your own rules and regs, but I just want to go back to number 5 on the criteria for allowance of conditional uses. And just read it quickly, that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the conditional use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. My number one concern, I have 3 children of school age, and my number one concern with this is that it is directly 2 miles, not even 2 miles, upwind from every school in Prairie Grove. We have, because we're a small town, all of our schools more or less share one large campus. And it is directly they are directly downwind from the proposed concrete plant. Having read lots of articles and things, the consensus is that concrete dust can travel up to 5 miles. We get a lot of strong winds through the valley, and I have no doubt that our kids would be breathing silicates on the playground. And just in case y'all weren't already familiar with this, years ago in the early 2000s, Prairie Grove already endured one tragedy where we had 4 young boys get testicular cancer, and we had an identified cancer cluster, and that was from an aerial pollutant. And so one of those boys lost his life. It opened lots of people to, it opened several businesses to liability, and we still have the memory of that living in our town. And so we take these things really seriously. And we want to protect our kids and our quality of life and our air and our future. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Nikki Lockett, 12283 Greasy Valley, and Justice Ricker is my JP. And I live about 1.5 miles from the site, and I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I have opposed this conditional use permit since the beginning and sent the planning board an email back before they voted for it. But when I heard Attorney Zega talk about the vet clinic, I do want to, that's why I wanted to talk, because that will really have a domino effect to the community, because as you all probably know, Prairie Grove's not the highest income community. And that vet clinic has been there for a really long time, and Dr. Franz has been there probably for about 4 years now. And he has tried to keep the cost very low. They were low from the previous vet, if you consider what it is rest of market. And every time he has to give me a quote, he's very uncomfortable giving it. So even at the lower cost than the market, he's still uncomfortable giving a quote. And so just thinking about the domino effect, if he has to relocate his vet clinic in today's market, there's no way he's going to be able to keep his costs low like he does today where he's at. So I just want people to be aware that it's not only going to affect the people in the direct area vicinity of the concrete plant, but really have a trickle-down effect to the whole community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Robert Nicholas Riggins. I live at 11514 Suncrest. My property adjoined Dr. Friend's. I live right up the hill from the animal clinic. And I just, I wasn't even going to speak because I feel like a broken record at this point. But the attorney just really hit the point. I'm paid at 100%. I'm only 70% disabled. I shouldn't even be saying all of it. But I'm paid at 100% due to PTSD. The entire reason my family had bought a property in a rural area right outside of the city limits is for that reason, to not have lights all night and dust and things going off at 3 o'clock in the morning, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to go into it a whole bunch more. But it is the definition of incompatibility with my family. We will be directly or like negatively affected by this. Up all nights, poor dreams, the stress that it'll cause in our family. Furthermore, my mother-in-law is retiring in 5 months. She's selling her property in Fayetteville, has bought the adjoining property to ours. She's already spoke with the construction companies about building her little tiny forever home on the property. But if this goes through, she will not be able to do that. She has lung issues. She's getting a treatment tomorrow, these big infusions and whatnot. We're going to have to sell our property, pack it all up, every bit of equity that we've been building and dreaming in this property. We're going to have to take, at least a 20% cut or something, projectually. Anyways, it, again, is the definition of incompatibility. I really just thank you for hearing us out and voting no on this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Thank you guys for your time. My name is Matt Jones, lifelong resident in Northwest Arkansas, currently live in Prairie Grove. And last year purchased the commercial property adjoining to the northeast of the O'Brien Ready Mix property where they're wanting to put that in. It's 10.32 acres. Wasn't aware of the plans when I purchased it. I got it for a couple reasons. One, as an investment to pass down to my kids whenever they get of age, and I'm too old to work it. Right now I'm running a 1,800 square foot little Ma and Pa grocery store, discount grocery store out of there. It's had a lot of success. We've been helping a lot of families. It's been a good thing for us. The long-term goal of that property that I bought it for is for an auction property. Right now I'm renting rodeo grounds and fairgrounds and whatnot to be able to hold outdoor open auctions, equipment auctions and whatnot. That's kind of my long-term goal, that back area, right where the creek that flows through their property runs directly through mine. And it's quite larger than the adjoining properties, how much water comes through mine. I do plan on having auctions out there. There's going to be families probably enjoying what little water's in there at times. I don't know how that's going to affect them. I know when I'm out back right now working at our store, which again is employing 2 to 3 local people, hit or miss when I need somebody, and my family. All along that hillside, I hear dogs barking, I hear kids playing. It's, they're enjoying life. They moved out there for a reason. I just want you guys to know I'm opposed to it, and I do think it'll highly affect what I purchased that property for. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, Megan Post. I live about less than 3 miles away from this proposed spot. I drive past it every day on my way to work. My 3 young teenagers at home drive past it every day to go to school. The road is incompatible with the use. Not only the road, you guys have heard everything from our community. We do not want it here. Pleading with you, please deny it. Very concerned about my child's welfare. Traffic is another concern. It's terrible on that road. It's a 2-lane road, right? The median is 2 lines. There's nowhere to go. There's no shoulder. There's no shoulder. It's terrible. Very concerned about that, and also concerned that it would open up the floodgates to other incompatible permits that want to be put in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, I'm sorry, time's up. But if there's anyone else who wanted to, we'd have to have a motion to suspend the rules. Okay, so moving on. Next up, we have the conditional use permit request, item number 6, O'Brien Ready Mix Facility High Intensity CUP. Do you want, first Dr. Ada will introduce it and go over things with us, and then the applicant will have 30 minutes, and then the appellant will have 30 minutes, and then we'll discuss it. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. This is the same presentation that was presented before the planning board. O'Brien Ready Mix Facility High Intensity Conditional Use Permit was approved by the planning board on October 30th, 2025. 5 members voted in favor, 2 members were absent. This proposed project is in District 13. An appeal was filed with the Circuit Clerk Office on November 12, 2025 by Mrs. Sheila Phillips to overturn the Planning Board CUP approval decision that was taken on October 30th. The appeal states the following reasons: inaccuracies in the CUP application, incompatibility with the neighborhood, and environmental and safety concerns. Are you able to see this, maybe? You want to try it? That's not my presentation. I don't care.
Sorry, everybody.
That's not his presentation. No. Okay.
Ready?
And to conclude, oh, yeah. What do you think? Yes, let's continue. So this project was approved by the planning board. 5 members were voted yes, 2 were absent on October 30th, 2025. This is the site map, vicinity map, and this is the neighbor notification map. Let me get my stuff so I can read it. The CUP notification process, 91 notifications were mailed by the applicant to the adjacent properties on September 4, 2025. Planning staff received up to the planning board meeting on October 30th, 2025, 72 emails and letters and 338 petition signatures in opposition to this project, citing undesired loud noises, potential health and environmental issues, and incompatibility with the agricultural and residential surrounding. 43 emails and letters and 50 petition signatures in support of this project, citing better concrete availability for the rural areas and commercial growth. For the CUP appeal notification, 91 notifications were mailed by the applicant to the adjacent property on November 1st, 2025. And yes, the applicant is requesting a high-intensity conditional use permit to develop and operate a concrete mixing facility, O'Brien Ready Mix. The property is 7.42 acres in total, with the project occupying approximately 4.5 acres. Proposed hours of operations are Monday through Fridays, with work starting anywhere between 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. and ending between 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., depending on weather conditions and time of the year. There will be 10 full-time employees on staff. No customers would be visiting the facility, but there would be 4 to 6 mixer trucks coming and going to the facility on business days. And next, yes. Site construction would include a 45 by 80 foot shop building, a 30 by 40 foot office building, and a 35 by 80 plant building. A gravel lot for mixer truck parking, a gravel lot for 2 employee parking spaces, no ADA parking provided at this time, an aggregate storage area, a semi-opaque chain link fence for privacy screening, a retaining wall, and a detention pond. If this CUP is approved, it will need to proceed to the large-scale development phase of the planning process. And this is the proposed site, including the dust abatement plan that was submitted by the applicant. And this is here. I have to show this because like it's for reference. This area was like has no zoning. It's like no county zoning prior to the change of the regulation by the state. So before like August 21st, 2025, if the applicant went through the process, he would not have been asked to submit for a conditional use permit. He would have been asked to submit for a large scale and go through the process. The same deal that we had like on 412, same project. It was in an area that has like no zoning, and now everything in the county is zoned as agriculture and single family residential. Planning conditions, everything is highlighted in blue that was approved and discussed during the planning board. Everything you see here like in green, conditions added by the planning board during the October 30th meeting. So that was like some of the stuff like they said like, hey, we can approve this if you agree to this, and here we are. And I'm gonna leave all the technical questions and the legal stuff for the applicant and their team, if you have any questions.
JP Messenger.
Yes, sir.
Oh. Sorry.
Yeah. So could you go back to the first set of planning conditions?
The first, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So one of the concerns is the hours of operation
Yes, sir.
being 5:30 to 7. Is that gonna be a strict?
Well, that's what they submitted. That's what they submitted during the conditional use permit, and that's exactly what was approved by the planning board. That's exactly what's written, and we're obligated as planning staff just to follow their lead. And we normally discuss with them, so what do you think? And this is exactly what they submitted. You as the quorum court has the right to add conditions, modify those times. Even in our condition, if you look at the planning condition, the last one here, there should be one here. No, it's like this one here. Yes, it's been a while. Says other set hours operation may be imposed by the planning board or quorum court. So you have the right to either change it, approve it, disapprove it, or modify it. That's up to your discretion.
Okay. So my real question is, how's this going to be enforced? I mean, I know these concrete operations start extremely early, especially on a big pour. So,
based on this,
yeah,
these are like the hours of operation that will be approved if you're going to approve it as is. If they don't, if they work outside those hours of operation, they'll be out of compliance of the approved CUP.
Okay, and the result would be a fine?
Resulting in fines and like, yes. So if someone complains, says like, hey, we have like trucks and they can't prove that they've been operating before like that set times, that would be something like we have to go through, like notify the applicant normally, and if they don't like comply, legal action will be taken and like fines will be like imposed.
Okay, and how close is the closest residence from the source of?
Let me go back here.
Noise.
I believe like I sent that question to one of the JP. He asked me about like maybe 300 feet or something like that. Yes.
The plot's only 267 yards across.
Yes. Remember, like when we do a GIS analysis, we do it like based on the property boundaries. We don't do it like straight. It's like when you drive, you can't see it like straight about half a mile, but when you drive it, it's like 0.75. because of the terrain. So that's the same thing.
Okay. Are there any restrictions on lighting, spotlights?
That's
when
one of
lights can be
the
turned
that's one
on?
of the new conditions that's being added by the planning board, and I believe they're like number 13. Number 13, yes.
Okay.
And one of the things that like the planning staff presented to the applicant, if they go through this process and this is approved, they have to go through the large scale. And during the large scale process, which is like all the fun happens and all the technical stuff will be like reviewed, they need to get like a permit from RDOT for this access. I mean, they might have an access now, but it needs to be approved based on the RDOT like specs, and they have to build it and get that permit, and that permit like takes a while. It's not something they will do like within 2 weeks. It might take like a few months. That's one thing. The other thing, we presented them with equivalent projects we had like in the area that happens in the city and in the adjacent area, and what the AEP and ADEQ requirements are. And we provided them with that list that you have to do this and that to be able to apply and submit and get approval. The same thing we've done with the same requirement we asked like the previous projects that came through. And let me say this for the record, none of our staff is they're engineers or like medical staff, so I cannot verify any of this information. I know there might be 100% accurate, they might not. We abide by the state and federal laws. So if they say like this is okay and it's approved and it's not up to anyone's standards, there is nothing we can do. We're limited to what we can get approved by the state and the federal government.
Okay, and do you know the speed limit of the road in front of the?
What's that?
The speed limit on that, I think it's Highway 62.
I believe it's 55 because it's a highway. It's a state highway.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at this plot plan. It looks like there's a tree right by the road. That kind of concerns me a little bit.
Oh, that's just like a plan. It could be like modified. Definitely could be modified. Yeah, they're gonna have like site distances and all of that. They're gonna have site clearance. Correct, Jake? Yeah, they're gonna like follow all the site distances, he will talk about all of this. That was just like, hey, we're gonna add trees because we've been asked. But yeah, definitely they have requirements for all of this.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about the speed limit.
Site visibility and speed limit,
There's
yes,
no
sir.
turning lane or anything.
Yeah. And of course, it's not just like for like RDOT. We're not doing just like for RDOT. Like we're doing this because it's also like a fire requirement. And if you read the staff report, we have the fire requirement. It's supposed to be compacted to minimum of 70,000 pound all weather approved by like an engineer. And it has to have like a minimum of 26 like turning radius, and that basically accumulate for like the largest fire trucks they have in the area. And basically, if you can like have a fire truck entering, like an ambulance will like fit in there. But like that's all like those numbers like we have comes from state requirement and federal requirement and safety, fire safety, and like street safety. So we're not making that up.
Okay. Just one more last question.
Yes, sir.
So one of the biggest concerns I've heard is about dust.
Yes, sir.
So what is the what measures are going to be in place to control dust?
I mean, one of the things, they have the dust abatement. Let me go back here. That's what the dust abatement is like there. They're going to have, and Jake is going to talk about this, Mr. Chavez. So normally, like we ask for trees to make sure like no dust like leaves the site, and also like try like to mediate some of the noise, and also like they have to keep everything like wet, everything like not scattering around. As I said, like there is lots of requirement by the ADEQ, and they have to follow this. They have a checklist, and once you submit for an ADEQ like permit, you will be on their schedule like for inspection. So each year they will come to you. You don't have to ask, and to make sure like you're following, and they will do a check mark. And if you're like in violation, they will ask you to correct it within a certain time, or like you'll be like out of compliance with the state. And I don't think anybody wants that. But we're gonna take. I'm not gonna say that because like we say that we take their word that like they're running a business, and they're trying to be do good like to the community, and they're gonna be like honest to what they said. And that's one of the things like that's what we do as a planning in case of violation, we have the other routes.
Yeah. Do you know if the ADEQ has any requirements for no visible dust?
I honestly cannot recall because it's been a while since we worked on something similar, but like they do have some requirement. I don't know like about like particle size, if they're going to be like a specific particle size, but they're going to have like a checklist that says like you have to do this as a minimum. You can always go beyond.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Tough crowd.
JP Hires.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. I believe I read in the application that O'Brien stated that they were in that this plot was in an industrial area. And when I went out there, I didn't see anything that seemed industrial, so I'm curious about where that assignment of it being an industrial
Yeah,
area
it's
came from.
I don't know like if they meant industrial or like they are like planning to apply for an industrial. Just like let me clarify, and like the public should know this as well, and like you know this already. We only have one zone in the county: agricultural single-family residence.
Correct.
Anything else requires a conditional use permit to, I don't want to say rezone because people like get freaked out, but to have the privilege of using your property for like commercial use. Any use that disturbs the land like 1 acre or more requires a large scale.
Right.
Let's say if this process like went through and for some reason that business did not work and they shut down, this reverts back to agricultural single-family residence, and that's why we go through the process. We go through the process so nobody will go ahead like and build whatever they want without like regulations. We have conditions on it, hence the name. So that's one thing. Where the industrial comes from for us, our definitions, if you read like our definitions, one of them says like if you store material for like a long time on the property and it's used for like industrial uses, you need to treat this as an industrial. And our industrial like notification area is half a mile. If this was like a mom and pop shop or like a coffee shop, 300 people like from that boundary, 300 feet would have been notified, and you wouldn't see like 91 people like being notified. So the reason we use the industrial because we have definitions and we had to follow them.
Okay, yeah, I guess I misunderstood what I read because I thought the applicant stated that this was an industrial area.
No, there is nothing industrial like by default.
Okay, and the other question I just have is, where is O'Brien Concrete located? Where's the company located?
The headquarter? Mm-hmm. I'll leave this like to them when they come to the podium. I know they're local, but I don't know exactly if they have a headquarter. I know they have like multiple places.
Okay, so you want me to ask that question?
Yes, please. And I know like they have like another plant like somewhere in Gentry, city limit. So
yeah, I know about that one. Okay, thanks.
Okay, JP Dennis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the towers, I call them towers. I'm sure that they're
silos, maybe.
Pardon?
Is it like the silos where?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So how high are those?
Are you doing silos? According to the plans, I don't see like any silos. Like we see like just like concrete bends.
Well, they won't be that high off the ground because we're going to put it inside the hill.
Okay, I'll let him answer it when he comes to the podium.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, then
And once again, remember, this is a conditional use permit.
That's fine. I had several, so I'll just.
Yeah, that's a conditional use permit for now. They're trying like to use that property for commercial. All the technical stuff is coming through the large scale. So there is lots of stuff on that plan, might not be on that plan so far. So because the technical is coming, but I will let them answer everything, and like you have the right to ask them any questions.
Thank you.
Next up, JP Washington.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I have actually two, because one has been answered. So can you describe what a semi-opaque chain link fence, I'm just trying to envision it, because those things just don't go together.
I never worked for Lowe's, but that would be semi-opaque. So like in the morning, you can see it, you can see the light, but it doesn't go through. So the people from the street won't be able to see it from outside. I guess like most of the project work we had and we asked them to do, they either use like a cloth that is like dark cloth that they hang behind, or they use the slats that goes inside the chain link so you don't see anything behind. It depends on I guess it depends on the availability, and it depends on like how much like area, like if you want to make it like blue, green, like matches and like blend in. So yeah, in rural area, you use like the cloth because it's the cheapest, most available. We've had like project close to Springdale, they had to use that slats because it was required for like match the area.
Okay, thank you for explaining that,
No,
because it's
absolutely.
definitely not what I had in,
Yep.
in my mind. So that is specifically, it mentions in the CUP for security and privacy, but it does nothing for noise.
No, it does not. It's
Okay.
it's just like for like, visual impact.
Okay. The next question, and this is extremely minor, but I did note that they said that there will be 10 employees on site, but for the parking, there are only going to be 2 parking spots. So where is everybody else going to?
Part of those like employees will be like truck drivers, correct? Like mixer drivers. So like they will have the parking mostly like in front of the office people, and the other employee they'll be like roaming, coming in and out.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Next up, JP Rios Stafford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In this diagram here, do we know what kind of trees these are proposed to be? That's going to be a question for the applicant? Okay.
Evergreens.
Evergreens,
So
okay.
that's all year long.
Okay. And then can you remind us the history of why we had some areas in our county that had no zoning?
Fun times. So yeah, I guess like I would say like heavens knows why, but it was like in our like area, and it was like in our like previous zoning ordinances. And the reason that was established, it was close to the nodes, close to like city nodes and like intersections, and it was like by design to give the option to people like to start a business without going the CUP process. If you ever notice any of those projects that they came in, including this one, it's close to the city edge. So it was in the planning area close to the city edge. Thinking ahead, people like thought ahead, like maybe that will be absorbed by the city so we don't have to worry about it, but some of them they did not, some of them did. So that's the whole idea. It was like giving the opportunity to businesses to come in close to intersection and make the process easier on them. If it's like larger than 1 acre, they will have to go through the large scale regardless. And if it does not, it will be like basically, I don't want to say by right, but like you don't have to go through like the CUP. But eventually you're going to have some conditions.
Okay, I learned something.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Next up, JP Lyons.
Thank you, Chair. Did I understand you correctly earlier, Director Adda, that there are some regulations from the states regarding this plant, the dust and that type of thing? Because when I called ADEQ, they couldn't give me anything.
I guess like we provided this also like to the appellant, and we provided this like to the project engineer and to the project attorney. So there is a list of like, I don't want to say requirement as much as like this is what like they might ask you to do previous compared to other projects that I have to go and ask like physically. I had to ask like multiple projects, what did you do for your plan? And so it's like, well, we had to do this. And we summarized this like on one page and gave it to them. Following this link, you need to apply for those like requirements. And like definitely when they go through like the ADEQ permitting, which changes like frequently, they might have like extra stuff they have to like to provide. One of them is like the SWIP, like stormwater prevention. That's something standard for any large scale, and like they have to have that approval before like they can do anything. If you ever like seen any subdivision in the cities, they normally they will have like silt. Do they call it silt? Yeah, silt fencing like next to the drainage and like closer like within a distance away from the street, and that's to keep everything within the project. And they will have like a notice of intent and like lots of requirements, and they will be inspected on it.
Thank you.
Next up, Charles Dean.
Thank you, Chair. Sam, you mentioned there'd be 5 or 6 trucks running in and out of there all through the day, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how about material trucks? they're gonna have to have material to
Oh,
make
definitely.
this
So
stuff.
like, it's like part, like that's according to what we asked, that's part of like the whole thing. So if they need material like from time to time, definitely they will have like delivery trucks.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a conditional use and large scale because like of those trucks. However, keep in mind, if it was like a county road, that would have been a different discussion with that like material like weight. But since this is a state highway, it's up to the state like to decide like how much. I cannot tell them like how much like weight they were gonna have to have or like the frequency.
Okay. Yeah, my biggest concern is the amount of traffic
Yes,
that
sir.
will be running in
Yes, sir.
and out
And,
of
like,
there. And
Keep in mind to answer this as well, Jake.
yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anyone else? Do we have more discussion by the court for Dr. Ada? Seeing none, we're ready to move on to the next step, which will be the applicant for 30 minutes. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ada.
Absolutely. You're gonna do your presentation, John. So.
Yeah, I have no ability to recover if it doesn't work. I don't have people.
I'm gonna give you this here so you can see it. That's your presentation, and look, definitely you know how to maneuver this. F5. I don't have to connect. Let's do this here. Sometimes, there you go. It's working, and this is for that one. Front back. Yeah, and you can read this if you want to. Yeah, I don't need this.
Get my son on the phone. Well, good evening. My name is John Scott. I'm a lawyer here in Fayetteville, and I represent, my pleasure to represent O'Brien Rock Company in this application. Tonight, we view tonight, it's a ratification hearing. Section 5 of the new zoning ordinance applicable to this says where an application for conditional use is presented to the planning board and approved, the planning director, Dr. Ada, shall present it to the Quorum Court for ratification. We will talk more about the status of this being, you know, a citizen calling themselves an appeal, which we disagree that they have a right to actually be a party to the application. But I just want to start off, I want to look at every one of you. I'm looking all the way around, and I appreciate your time. I want to tell you, I have looked at this in a lot of detail, and I've represented these fellows, the O'Briens, and I am firmly convinced this is absolutely the type of suitable conditional use that's appropriate in this area for this growing Western Washington County community. It's compatible on all the points. It fits with the growth of the community. I've heard 1,500 residential building permits out in the Prairie Grove and Lincoln area right now. Homes need concrete, and they're gonna get concrete. And we think the best thing is to have a local business that's gonna hire people, obey the laws because they have to, they're neighbors. Have them there, because if they don't, that concrete will be coming. And they'll be flying in at 65 miles an hour because they're in a hurry to get back to wherever they came from 20 miles away. So I wanna just say, first of all, it is absolutely compatible with the growth and the desirable area that we have to live in. And number two, it adds to the value. Look at all the economic reports. Look at we've got it on our PowerPoint, but the community and the area is a top 10 place to live in the country for 10 years running. People need a place to live, and they're moving out into this community. That's just the natural growth, and natural growth needs some materials. There's a lumber supply place just to the west that we'll talk about that provides lumber materials. This is just, there will be roofing materials coming to these homes. There'll be all sorts of products coming, but this is just one thing. And to this last issue that came up that Dr. Ada mentioned about where there was not a zone, we agree. Right now, everything is agricultural, single-family R1. When they bought this property, it was not zoned, and they got perk tests, and they thought that they weren't gonna have to go through the process, but here they are, and they've gone through it. So that's what I want to talk to you about. This process And it's being proceeded under the new zoning act that was enacted in August of 2025. That defines how all this is handled. All previous ordinances have been repealed and replaced by the new act. The freedom, I forget what it's called, but that's the applicable process that we're going through. And under that process, there is an applicant, who's Jake, the engineer, on behalf of O'Brien, and they have to pay a fee. They submit an application. Ultimately, they provide the notices that were talked about, and they engage in a fulsome process with the planning director, his staff, and I believe, if I understand, they even hire outside engineers to look at this. And what we're only looking at right now, we're not looking at, is there going to be a tree right there? Is there going to be is the fence going to be this tall, that tall? The real issue is a ready-mix business, as generally proposed, compatible. And so they went through this process, and as he said, there were conditions requested. There was give and take. Yes, there'll be extensive ADEQ regulation. They have to have an air and water permit, and they have to comply. And those people can show up at any time, and they have, because these people have called and complained about the Gentry location. They've had 2 inspections in the last 2 weeks where the ADEQ said, somebody said, we want you to inspect that Prairie Grove location. And they said, there isn't one yet. They said, then go inspect Gentry, it's polluting. And they came up, they said, there's dust going everywhere. And they went up, and you know what it was? Not dust at all. It was steam from the boiler coming out of the plant, steam. There was no dust. So they've put up and gone through this process in good faith and spent a lot of time, a lot of effort, and they've been in business for, what, 80 years? I mean, multiple generations of O'Briens have been in the concrete business, and they're not a fly-by-night who says, oh, there's some houses being built out there we want to locate. They know how to run the business, and they do it right. They have a permanent person who works on constructing the facility, and they run it right. They put it on pavement, you'll hear. Some of these places, I've seen the one over there at Joyce and, not Joyce, Greg and Van Ash, there's 2 of them right there, right near some homes. That's just powder. I mean, dust kind of looks like Pigpen from Charlie Brown when they come driving out of there. But this thing, it'll be asphalt. I shouldn't have used a PowerPoint because I never do it, and I may not even get to it. But anyway, this is very important to us, and I'm here to do the law, just whatever law there is to do. But there's a lot, because there's a right to have this, to use your property and go through this process appropriately. And there's a right to be mad as heck if the few people that are here. But there's 11,000 people probably in the area of this thing, and we got 35 people here tonight. There's always going to be not in my backyard people. And 1,000 people signing a thing, they're not here. None of these people have participated in the process with Dr. Ada and Jake, a licensed engineer.
Excuse me just a moment. I might have to ask that the audience, please don't interrupt while someone is speaking. I know when I'm speaking and I get interrupted, it's hard to get started. Sometimes we lose. Besides, we owe them respect, and they owe us respect. Thank you.
I appreciate that. It's kind of distracting, but I understand they're emotional. They have a right to do. That's what our process is. It lets them speak. So I'm going to go to this thing because I won't even get to it if I don't. But just to start, and this is sort of a visual effect. But the question is, what could they do without having to go get a conditional permit? I'll tell you what they could do, and they still can do. Put a hog farm out there, or turkey houses, or chicken houses. Anybody they put something that somebody, I guarantee, will smell 24/7. But that's not what they're doing. This is a process. It's a concrete plant, a ready-mix concrete plant. We've given you some information. You can look at the PowerPoint, all sorts of publications talking about what a great place this area is to live, the growth. Our Northwest Arkansas Council CEO, Nelson Peacock, says, you have to plan early so that housing infrastructure can meet future demand. And there is going to be demand. There's projections. We provide an article that talks about the expected growth of Washington County. Next thing we've given you here, I'm still on today, turkey house. To show you that there's been quite a bit of growth. And I understand that there's people who don't really want growth. They want to be kind of in a certain area, but we're kind of dealing with the reality that there is growth. And so part of that is, this is an area that is growing. Matter of fact, Prairie Grove was one of the top growths between the year 2020 and 2026, and is projected to grow even more if we look at the next one that talks about, this is a very recent article talking about largest cities in Northwest Arkansas and the fastest growing in Northwest Arkansas. Prairie Grove is there at number 5. Between 2010 and 2024, it grew 92%. And it's still growing. And they need concrete. You know, this is not a toxic material, and we'll get to that, but it's sand, it's gravel, and it's cement powder and water. And there's concrete on every one of us. Have probably concrete on our driveway, on our foundation, and it's just a building material that has to be used just like bricks and roofing. And so we'll show you here that basically the point being with all these things is that there is growth, and when you have growth, you have to have the infrastructure to support it, or else it's just going to be a flyby. You really are going to have traffic coming in, and so this really helps. These people are going to pull out, and there's been an issue about, well, how about all these trucks? Well, what typically happens is you do have 5 trucks. They don't all get loaded at once. They kind of come in, somebody gets loaded, and he leaves. And then the next one comes. I've seen and read articles about concrete plants that 24/7, there's a line of 50 trucks just waiting to be filled. This is not that kind of operation. They'll send one out, they'll send another one out. They send them about every, 30, 45 minutes. Then they kind of come back through after they finish their job. They'll come, they probably get loaded again, and they head back out. But it's sort of a one by one. And again, I know there's always concerns about traffic, but everybody driving on the roads, got to assume that everybody's going to obey the laws. I mean, you know, trucks don't benefit from pulling out and getting T-boned or T-boning someone. They have actually, I know they have a thorough safety training. It's very important driving those trucks to be safe driving them. They're not cheap. So anyway, we have this unprecedented growth. We have the infrastructure expansion, and you know, there's complaints and the allegations been made. If you build a concrete plant, it's going to devastate the value. I've heard them say 35% property value decline. Just don't think that empirically that's true. I think the real truth is you can't untangle the causes and effect, but property values are going up, and they certainly go up when you can build houses and when people want to live in your area. And you can build affordable houses when you have the infrastructure to do it, and it will benefit and raise the water for everyone. And so, you know, we talk about, you know, buyers are looking for growth and they want opportunities in places where they can build houses. It does have a positive environment. It has a positive economic impact. You know, it's going to create some jobs, tax revenue for sure, from property taxes to income that's generated, and people in the community spending money in the community. I see this one. I don't do these things. I'm looking at the thing, and so you know, just basically said, you know, locating a ready-mix concrete next to construction demand and cluster, it just makes common sense. And again, they're not coming to try to bother anyone, but you know, there's people who get bothered for sure. I wanted to show you here, God, it's compatible. That is 2 O'Brien facilities. I think maybe up in Galena, Missouri, up through Joplin.
Mr. Scott, I'm sorry, but I'm afraid people at home can't hear when you're not. I don't know, but I want to make sure they can.
I'm trying to look over the thing, but you just wanted to say that those are he called them the towers, a silo. And so everybody knows the real concern anybody really ever articulates is cement powder. Cement, they claim, you know, that could be something they're worried about. It's a fine dust. It's a small portion of the concrete ready mix, but maybe 15% of a load, but it's brought in an enclosed truck. It's put directly into silos. It's not out ever in the open. Now gravel will be out outdoors and they keep it watered down, but the cement powder is in a silo. Mr. Lemming over here, Justice Lemming, I know he said, well, you go out there and there might be some cement powder get out, but there is a design for how that works. And they have bags, they call them, and filters, and there are a lot of care is taken because they track it and they're not losing cement powder. They track it, they know how much they have, how many loads they send, and they're not losing like 10 or 15%. And you know, I've heard complaints about things 2 miles away, and if we were in court, and if this thing gets, you know, has to go to a court, every allegation made by the residents will have to be supported by admissible evidence, not just hearsay or old folks saying that, you know, that 2 miles away, kids are going to be, it's going to be toxic. But that's 2 of their plants. That's what they look like. I better get moving here. You know, we mentioned that there have been complaints about 5 different categories. We submitted it. an environmental assessment done on the Gentry location. It looks at the exact areas that they're worried about here. Looks at operational air quality. They did a thorough study. Emissions were not a problem. Operational sound, they put microphones out there for several days and recorded it. The sound was it was like 54 to 59 decibels. Operational light, this is just the lumens or candles, whatever is it's in the report, should not be, and even more, there's going to be this requirement here that light not leave the property. Groundwater, surface water, all of that has been addressed and been found to be safe. There was mention about what is your dust plan, and this is kind of a blow up of it. That's the plan that, the site plan that Dr. Ada was looking at, and here's a blow up of what that dust abatement plan talks about, some of the things. But it's more strict than that because they do have to answer to ADEQ, not just the engineer. It'll have to be very, very well maintained. And then, so we're looking at the site plan. That's, you know, what we're looking at as far as, is it compatible? Is there any other business in the area? You'll see O'Brien, I should have done a better job of highlighting them, but O'Brien's right there kind of in the middle, across the street from County Lane Liquor, and that, it's kind of a honky-tonk bar out there, I guess. But if you look just to the Boston Mountain Solid Waste is right by the lake, right on the lake. Copart Salvage Yard, I went out there driving around and saw several big trucks pulling loads of cars, double-deckers pulling cars out to this Copart Salvage Park. You got to the west, you got another salvage yard, IAA Salvage Yard, Forest Products Lumber Yard over there. If you go to their website, they sell all sorts of lumber products. And so really this corridor, there is some light industry. This is not just only rocking chairs and you know, children running, you know, through the fields. There is some light industry in this kind of place. There's a propane place over there with a giant propane tank kind of advertising. So the question is this too close to houses? That's been asked. We just have some areas of some of the other area ready-mix places. Centerton, look at that standard materials group, surrounded by neighborhoods, right around it, all around, densely. We got Rogers ready-mix. There's baseball fields. There's golf course, there's houses, there's neighborhoods, all right around it. You got Lowell, look at that, just full subdivisions all around it to the east and in all directions, really. Fayetteville Ready Mix, this one's got, there's Neighborhood Standard Materials Group, and as I said, there's the one over there at Gregg and Van Ash. Siloam Springs, I've been out to that one, that one's just powder. There's no concrete pad like O'Brien will have, but it's right, just, there's little houses that just look right out of their backyard and see the ready-mix plant. So, you know, ultimately, there's going to be, I mentioned the ADEQ, and so I mentioned, and again, we're transparent. They have been investigated based upon complaining neighbors, yes, 5 times. And we've given you all the results, every one of their findings. Every time the ADEQ came out, it was a surprise, no warning. They looked at the operations, and they found no note. They said no air emissions, no water problems. You're operating in compliance, have not been cited, and they're proud of that. And so, you know, in the end, I had to ask, I filed a motion, which I don't know if anybody's ever filed a motion before the Quorum Court. The county attorney may have mentioned it to you. Our position, number one, is that this should not be heard, that the appellant is a party to this application. The Section 5 only says that if the planning board denies the conditional use application, then the applicant may appeal. Nowhere in there does it say if the planning board grants the conditional use, then any member of the public may come in and appeal it. It would really allow somebody watching this on TV to come in and appeal it. Same tonight. If you guys grant our motion, can any resident from the entire Washington County go file an appeal to circuit court? I'd tell you the answer is no. The way it typically comes up, and I know there've been a lot of these appeals in recent years, you know, you deny a conditional use, and then the applicant, the owner, goes to circuit court, and sometimes the citizens try to go intervene in that case. They'll say, we want to intervene, we have something to say, but they're not a party as they're not an applicant, and they really don't have standing to appeal. I'm sitting as our chairman's twitching her face up at me, but I'm telling
I'm
you,
sorry.
I firmly and 100% believe this is the law, and if we have to go appeal it, I think that will be a major issue decided by the circuit court, is does a citizen become a party to a conditional use application? No. They certainly have a right in the democratic process to stand here and scream about it and tell us they don't want it, but we just ask, all I can ask, and I'll turn technical stuff over to Jake. I've had stopwatch, but I forgot to turn it on, so.
Okay, excuse me just a moment. Should Mr. Lester, should you address that, what he just said, or no? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I agree that tonight it needs to be heard as a ratification proceeding. It's being presented for ratification, and we respectfully ask that it be ratified. We think that's the right thing to do. We think that the work has been done. This county has looked at it. The county planning board did not have a problem, and we just really hope that we get a fair shake, that having done all that work, that we get the chance to only do the next step, and that's just to go to the next to the large scale. This just says you have a right to go to the next step, not your plan has already been approved. So I'm
Okay.
going to turn it over to Jake. Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
Madam Chair, keep taking questions?
I'll be happy to.
It's
But I wasn't sure about my time, how much time.
He has they have 11 minutes left. There'll be questions after that. Okay.
Good evening. I'm Jake Chavis with Odyssey Engineering, representing the O'Briens. Just want to kind of touch on a few things that we talked about at Planning Commission or Planning Board. So I opened up with just, Planning Board, I kind of want to go with this as a discussion. What will it take to make everybody in this body comfortable with us moving forward? We had several conversations over a couple of different nights, and we feel that we have adequately addressed any of the concerns that Planning Board had, and we also feel that we addressed some of the concerns that the citizens of the public had as well. So, what were the concerns? Some of them have been brought up tonight. Number one is traffic. In my professional opinion, after years of doing this specific site does not generate enough traffic to impact the state highway there. And I've actually submitted a letter with our original conditional use permit with our stamp saying that this is, as a professional, this is what we believe. One of you mentioned earlier about site triangles. There was concern after looking at our site plan with all the trees that we're planting over there, whether or not that would be safe. We did mention at Planning Board that we will adhere to site triangles on the site. So kind of what that means is we draw a line from where the driver will sit turning out of the driveway a certain distance away on each direction, and that distance is variable based on the speed limit. And nothing can be in that line of sight either way in order for it to be safe. And we had mentioned to Planning Board that we will adhere to that. Those are the AASHTO regulation site triangles. The other concerns the Planning Board had were the environmental concerns, and we brought up a few of them tonight, and I'll just kind of walk through those. The air quality concerns. So there is an environmental report that was done at another location, and that report stated that in terms of air quality, that site is within the federal regulations. But in doing this, we want to go above and beyond what was required. So we mentioned to the Planning Board that we will provide a dust abatement plan to even further keep dust settled on site. The next thing that we talked about was the noise. The environmental study that was done showed proof that we were within 54 to 59 decibels. That is about the normal conversation. That's what those decibels mean. But we went above and beyond what was asked of us. We planted or are proposing to plant evergreen trees all around the site that will help abate that noise slightly. The other thing that was brought up as a concern was the light pollution. We asked Planning Board to make this a condition of approval, and it was for us to provide a photometric plan that proved that there will be no light bleeding over the property lines, and we will do that with a large-scale development. Another concern was groundwater. Samples were taken at the other facility. No organic compounds were detected. It's within safe metrics there. The surface water was another concern by the planning board. So again, to go above and beyond what the county has typically required of conditional use permits, we asked that a condition be placed upon us that we enact what's called water quality standards through our retention pond. And there's a calculation of essentially what that means is we are going to be able to capture and treat 70% of the total suspended solids that leave the site. And that is a condition of approval that the planning board So I just wanted to kind of end my talking time here with just a statement that, it's my job to prepare these, hydrological analyses, stormwater pollution prevention plans, help with the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality permits and construction drawings. And just want to reiterate, the fact that many have touched on tonight, that all of these things have to be in place and all of these things have to be in compliance with a state and federal level. And we have done that with other sites, and we will do that again with this site. And again, the planning board will also have another opportunity to review all of this information when we submit for a large-scale development. And I'm here for any questions if you have any.
There's this time. Do they have time left? Or?
Well, yeah, they always have time for questions. It's just their presentation is limited to 30 minutes.
We have one more speaker.
Oh.
I didn't know if they had
They
other.
have 5 minutes and 46 seconds.
Okay, thank you. That's what I meant. Thank you.
Good evening. Sorry. I'm Kyle O'Brien. I'm one of the owners of O'Brien Ready Mix, fourth generation. Along with myself, my brother, my two cousins, we own and operate O'Brien Ready Mix. We currently employ several families with our organization. My sister works for us. I employ her two sons. My other sister's husband works for us. We have several employees that have brought their children and other family members to work with us at all of our sites. We are family-oriented, we are community-oriented, and so we are asking for your support to locate a ready-mix plant here on the US Highway 62. We believe this location will better serve the growing needs of Washington County while continuing our long-standing commitment to environmental responsibility and community involvement. We already operate an environmental compliant ready-mix facility in Arkansas, in Gentry, Arkansas, roughly 25 to 30 miles away from here. We have had, as been already discussed, several surprise inspections. We've had 5 or so far, and there has been no issues cited. Our operations comply fully with the regulations, and we prioritize our responsibilities and practices every day. For this facility on Highway 62, like Jake said, we are going above and beyond. We've hired him to design our facility. We also engage a separate environmental company, Triad Environmental, out of Pittsburgh, Kansas. They monitor our environmentals. They make sure that we are in compliance with all our permits, dust control, stormwater, all the requirements. We monitor our own stuff, and they monitor us while we monitor ours. So we have 3 levels of making sure we're doing things correctly. Beyond compliance, we're active in the community. We support the local schools, chambers, and organizations. This facility will create excellent paying jobs for the community, will help build the infrastructure of the growing region, and will bring an economic benefit to Washington County. Again, we understand, and I understand, the environmental and quality of life concerns, and I believe we have addressed those proactively. Our track record proves we operate responsibly in a residential adjacent areas without issues. So I respectfully ask for you guys to support us in our growth here in Arkansas. And I can either take questions or we can start with those guys and then I can come back up, whichever would be.
Okay. So leave it up to the court. We have some who would like to ask questions, I think. So let's start with JP Massengill. Oh. Your name was up first.
Okay.
I took my name off.
Okay, let's see. So I guess the biggest issues are around air quality and noise. So we'll talk about air quality first. So what would be sources of dust in the operation?
Normally at a ready-mix facility, your dust is gonna be your coarse aggregate, your stone, or your cement powder. Our coarse aggregate comes from the quarry, washed, so it is already wet. And then we have a sprinkler system on our aggregates to control dust. It also lowers the temperature of our product, makes our product better. Water retention and all that. On our dust silos or cement silos, we've got bag houses. Those are monitored. We have pinch valves. Pinch valve it's got a sensor in there. If the numbers are off and the tank's getting full, it automatically chokes off the supply and shuts the truck off so it cannot overfill the silos. We'll have 3 water points at the facility. We'll have a washout station when the truck returns. That'll be recycled water from our retention pond. And then we'll have the water on the aggregates, and then we'll have a wash down hose before they leave. After they get loaded, they wash their truck off to make sure there's no rock debris, dust, or anything on the truck. So when any vehicle that comes in to our lot, their tires will be wet. So when they go from the washout, there'll be water there. They go through the rock, so any material trucks that come in has to go through the water, and then when they leave, they get washed down again.
Okay. So on your aggregate, I think what you're saying is when you're handling the aggregate, either it's getting delivered or it's being moved. That's when
It is already watered down. Yeah, it is. It should be dust free. It'll have moisture in it.
Okay, and then as far as when trucks come onto the property, is that all concrete and pavement?
Yes,
or is
our
there any
driveway
area
will
that's
be
gonna
concrete. I don't know the exact measurement as of right now, but it'll be somewhere roughly 500-ish feet long. So that'll be concrete, and then when we build the facility, anywhere that there will be traffic will be concrete while we build the facility before it is completed.
Okay, I guess my question is, when a concrete or a delivery truck comes in and they make their path through the property.
It'll be all paved concrete, yes,
all
sir.
paved, okay, that's what I want to know, if it was
Yep.
all paved or not. Okay, and then, one other question on your silo, you said it's monitored, so your bag houses will have dust detectors on them? Is that alarmed, or you say it shuts
Yes,
down
it
the
has
process?
an alarm, and it'll have a visual alarm and a sound alarm.
Okay. So I guess that alarm's you got a control room of some sort? that's operating?
The alarm was actually on the tank, so if you're out there pumping into the tank, it will have a red light that will come on, that it gives you 30 seconds to shut your truck off, so you don't overfill the silo, and if you do not, it will shut you off, and it won't let you fill the silo up any longer.
Okay, all right, thank you. Then the noise issue, I know there was some decibel numbers quoted, and my experience with a barking dog is, there's some noises that are extremely irritating. They're well below the decibel requirements. One of those is, the sound of equipment backing up. And I think that's probably not something we want to hear at 3 a.m. So can you help me understand what noises would be present in your operation, and how can we avoid having the sound of trucks backing or equipment backing up at,
Yes, all our vehicles, all our equipment will have safety backup alarms on them. They just have to. We build with leftover concrete. We build 6 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot bunker walls, We will line our property with that as we go. We will have a 8-foot wall of our concrete blocks around, and that'll keep the sound in. We will also have the tree barrier, and then the fencing, whatever that was called. We'll have that. So we will have several measures to keep the sound in our facility.
Okay, and then the proposed hours of operation are from 5:30 to 7. Is that what you intend to?
More or
intend
less,
to be
yes, sir.
operating?
Like tomorrow, we're not starting, our first job's at 7 o'clock, so we'll be in at 6. Again, it is gonna be weather dependent. We will operate as a normal ready-mix facility, like every ready-mix facility in the county and state. But there will be times that we'll have to be in early if those jobs require that, or in the summertime when it gets hot. Nobody wants to work outside when it's 110, and so if we come in early, we will be done early. But there will be some jobs that will require us to come in early. If we're building a new school, we will be there before the school is there for safety reasons. So our normal operating hours, we usually get in somewhere between 7 and 5:30. But yes, there will be times where we will be in earlier.
And when you say earlier, that would be 5:30?
That depends on the job. That's why on that deal it says it'll be weather dependent and time of year dependent.
Okay. All right, yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about that, about having jobs that start at 3 a.m. and, we've got equipment out there, backing up. I know there's at least one resident that's 300 feet from the property, so I think they'll clearly hear the sound of equipment backing up, so. Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Next up, JP Hires.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple of questions, same ones that I actually asked our planning director. I'm curious as to where O'Brien is based. Where's the base of the
Our
company?
corporate office is in St. Paul, Kansas. That's where our grandfather and our fathers grew up. So that's why we were going to move our corporate office, but their father was in his 80s, and they would pick him up, bring him to work. And so if we were to have moved the office, he would have nothing to do. And then he hung on for several years, and so we refixed that office up. It is the oldest building in St. Paul, Kansas. I believe it's been there since 1840, and so that's why our office has stayed there.
Okay, thank you. The other question that I had, and I actually went back into the Planning Commission and pulled up the agenda and the planning, the application for the conditional use approval relating to the question that I asked before. And on page 18 of this, it states under number 16, compatibility with neighbors. There are not many residential neighbors. The vicinity is primarily made up of industrial businesses. Now, I've been out there. And to continue this, before I go any further, if you switch down to page 24 of the application, which goes past the topographical maps, and let me find where I was. Under number 24, it says, describe how, hold on. Let me find my place. Yeah, the third bullet point on that says minimal impact on residential comfort. It says, given the commercial industrial nature of the surrounding area and the lack of immediate residential development, the facility's operations will not interfere with the comfort or general welfare of the public. So it says in here at least twice that there are no immediate residential properties. When we go further down, it says that there are no, hold on, where'd I find that? No encroachment on residential or sensitive issues, thank you. There are no immediate residential properties or sensitive land uses such as schools or parks directly adjacent to the proposed site. As such, the facility will not interfere with residential enjoyment or contribute to incompatible land use conflicts. So I went out and looked at the site, and I sat on some neighboring, very close neighboring adjacent properties. So there is quite a bit of residential development right around there. My concern is this is the application that was given to the planning board, and I feel like it's not quite honest, and so I'm struggling with that.
Sorry, what was the question?
I guess my question would be, why does the application say that there are no immediate neighbors and that this is primary and industrial zone, because it's not?
Yeah, so there are certainly some residential properties around, but as far as residential developments, so as a civil engineer, that's most of my job. Right?
Okay, so, but there are many houses.
Yes.
Right there. Yes.
Certainly, yes. You drove out there, you know, there are some residential properties immediately adjacent to the facility.
Okay, because this application says there are no immediate residential properties. That's what it says here on your application.
Sure, that may just be on me. I apologize for that.
Okay, yeah, it's in there twice, and so I had some problems with that because I went out there, I didn't see any industrial businesses. I saw some small businesses, but I didn't see something
Again,
that I considered industrial.
Just, you know, this is my job. I do this all the time. When I think residential properties, I'm thinking subdivisions. I'm thinking townhomes. I'm thinking apartment complexes.
Okay.
I'm typically not thinking, you know, at least one house per 5 acre.
4 farms that are right next to it. Yeah. Okay. That's really all I had. I was troubled by that because what I'm reading here is not what I saw. So thank you.
Next up, JP Dennis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize when I may bounce around a little bit, but since you're there at the mic, I want to compliment you on Gentry. I went over there and looked, and it's a very good-looking business. It's got, you know, the concrete boundary or blocks, as you said, all the way in, and you know, one thing I noticed was every concrete truck was washed real well, and so I noticed that, and then I noticed you had lots of sand, lots of gravel. Looked like a good operation to me. My question for you is, one question is, why do you wash the concrete trucks when you got to turn around and use them again Monday?
Because if you don't, concrete will stick to it, and then for one, it doesn't look good. Two, if it's covered in concrete, it's hard to work on, and it doesn't I mean, just like anything else, if you have a piece of farm equipment and you don't keep it clean, a bush hog, if you don't clean it off at the end of the day, it'll rust, it'll bind up, same principle.
Very good reasoning. So after I left your place and went across the street to Jim's Autos, Jim Jansen, and he has a pole barn out there, and in that pole barn is a lot of tractors and implements, antique trucks, antique cars, and he said, you can look at it, but please don't rub it. I said, well, why shouldn't I rub it? He said, because if you rub it, it'll scratch the paint. And all of his antique trucks, antique cars, all of his tractor equipment, and it's partly because of the construction of it. It's an open pole barn, open to the south. So any dust or the prevailing wind is from the south, and everything in there is covered in concrete dust.
Is it concrete dust or is it lime dust off the dirt road directly across his property?
Well, I wasn't there when it blew on, but I did see pictures where there was enough dust in the air that it looked like a fog moving in. And so, do you ever have leaks in your concrete silos? Because that picture indicated a definite leak. Because there was so much dust in there, it looked like a cloud coming in.
No, there won't be a leak. Our cement powder is the most expensive part in our product, and so I can't afford to have a leak or to lose.
Have you ever had a leak?
No, sir.
On your different locations, you brought that up earlier on your paperwork. What's the largest boundary around your locations? Otherwise 40 acres, or do you put them all on 7 acres, or
It all
3
depends. Our
acres? Or?
Galena facility, I believe, is on 4.3 acres. Our Joplin facility is roughly under 8. Our Chanute facility is going to be roughly 6. Our largest lot will be Frontenac, Kansas, and it is probably 15 or 20.
So 15 or 20 sounds more reasonable to me, because that way you can put that plant in the middle of it and contain some of the noise, contain some of the dust, and be a good neighbor. The other question, you mentioned that you have children. Are they young?
No, 22, and one's getting ready to graduate high school.
Okay, so they're older children. If they had grandchildren, would you allow them to live on one of your plants in a double wide?
Yeah, I mean, we work in it every day. I would not see an issue in that at all.
Okay. Well, you've heard the argument from people about asthma and COPD. It's a real concern. I know that Mr. Jansen said his wife cannot even come outside on certain nights, depending on what's going on at the concrete plant there in Gentry. And so I didn't develop asthma until I was an adult. And I used to think it was just a joke, but when you got it and you can't lift your arm up because you don't have enough oxygen, and you're breathing concrete dust, or you've had cancer in your lungs, you just don't have the capacity anymore that you used to have. And I feel for people very much whenever I hear that they have COPD and are living that close to a proposed concrete plant. So one of my questions for you is this: if I were to ask the court to pass a law for an abatement where that you could have a tax break for a full year, would you be interested in taking that kind of offer and finding a larger parcel of land to buy?
I can't make that decision. I'll have to take it up with the other owners.
You'd have to take that up with the other owners?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, is that them sitting over there?
2 of them are. The other one is at home.
Well, you might ask them, see what they think. I just feel like the location, I'll agree that concrete is needed. We all know that. And it's going to be in high demand in Prairie Grove, because Prairie Grove's getting ready to bust wide open on that. So I understand why you want to be there, but I just feel like this is the wrong location. I think you have the right to swing your arm at me anytime you want to, but your right to swing your arm stops when it hits my nose. And that's how I feel like that these people feel, is that you came out there and, you have the right to come out there. You have a right to buy the land, but you have a right to hit them in the nose with concrete dust and waste. And I don't think you do. And so check with them real quick, because right now I'll be voting no on this. And that was my other question, was to ask your lawyer if he's telling us as quorum court we do not have the right to decide tonight. Yes. Because that's the way I was reading what you were saying.
No, sir.
No?
No, sir, that's not.
No, that's not what you're saying, or no, we don't have a right?
No, that's not what I was saying. What I was saying is that a citizen does not have, it cannot be a thing where the position is that the ordinance does not allow a disappointed citizen to file an appeal to quorum court from the planning division's recommendation of a conditional use. That they don't, that there is no right in the ordinance today. Now, maybe there was in previous ordinances, and maybe there will be in the future, but the one that was in place as of August of 25 does not say that any concerned or disappointed citizen who wasn't a party can appeal. Now, that said, you do have jurisdiction to hear this, which we're as a ratification proceeding, and to vote whether to ratify the recommendation
So
or
you're
not.
saying we do have that right to say yes or no tonight?
Well, if it's treated as a ratification proceeding, and that, you know, I've got to make legal arguments, and looking at the ordinance, it doesn't provide that. So, you know, it says that if it's approved, the planning director shall present it to the quorum court, and it says who shall ratify the recommendation by ordinance. And my position would be, and you know this, I saw in the minutes in the last meeting, the position is that the courts have said that this proceeding today is legislative. And I understand y'all were told, you know, when you give your opinions, that the look is going to be, where did you abuse your discretion? And I contend that Dr. Ada's department should get the same deference. They've looked at all this. They looked at the real engineering drawings. They know the specific conditions. It'd be possible for us to read every condition, but you have the memo. And all this says is we have a right to go to the next step, to large scale. And I would consider that the deference, unless you find that the planning board somehow abused their discretion in recommending the conditional use, you should ratify that decision by ordinance.
Okay. How many lawsuits do you have against you at this time?
And what do you mean?
O'Brien's concrete plants.
Gentry.
Just Gentry?
And that's, well, I mean, there's one where somebody's concrete cracked or something, and they're mad at the person who installed it, and they get, you know, I mean, to be fair, that's in Joplin. They were a party on a small homeowner case, you know, where someone says our concrete, I don't even know what they said, it cured wrong or did something, but not as far as the operation of the plant.
Okay. That's just, I think, something that we should know. I guess I'll take this time to say how I feel, because we have to tell why we're going to vote the way we're going to vote. Pardon?
We gotta.
Oh, they have to listen. Okay, I'll save the rest of my
Well,
comments.
and I'll just say, as far
I'll
as
save my comments till later.
As
then.
far as I'll just, if I can, as far as the lawsuit goes, and as far as even the people objecting today, there are going to be people who have a different opinion and they don't want you. And we understand that somebody, you know, a few people have stated reasons they don't want. Let's say they just don't want it. They didn't want that where they live. But we also have to look at the good of the county as a whole, and we're talking tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people ultimately. And so it's very difficult if any single citizen or voter gets a veto power over a business.
Well, that's good of you. I feel an obligation to a little 10-year-old girl that's going to have to sleep 100 feet from this. That's who I feel sorry for. And since I had since you've said I had the authority to do that, to vote against it, I blank sure will. Thank you.
I respect that.
Excuse me just a moment. I just want to remind everybody on the court that we have certain criteria that we're supposed to consider when we're considering these, and let's maybe keep that in mind. Next up is J.P. Lyons.
Thank you, Chair. My biggest concern is the dust. You know, well, let me back up. I want to start somewhere else. I want to start with your application, such as one of my colleagues did. I didn't catch what she did, but I think it's a little disingenuous that you put in your application your hours of operation, and based on even what you said today, I don't believe you intend to keep to those hours of operations. Not a question, just a statement, sorry. But my biggest concern is the dust. Based on the research I was able to do, pulling information from Rice University, other states like Texas, who down in Houston seems to have a huge problem with the dust and what the ailments it's causing, and some similar companies in Brooklyn. Your lawyer said it's non-toxic, but according to this research, that dust contains particulate matter that can cause serious health effects, including reduced lung development in children, higher rates of asthma, bronchitis, heart disease, and cancer. The most recent data compiled from a range of sources, including satellite imagery, show that in 2015 alone, particulate matter was linked to 5,200 premature deaths in Houston. So that's my biggest concern, right? So this isn't my expertise. You guys are. So help me understand that. Help me understand what you're telling me. I think the bag systems are probably the biggest mitigator, how that's going to work and how that's different from what I'm finding from Rice University and what's going on in Houston.
When was that study done?
Well, this says 2015, so that's the best I can do. Sorry.
I didn't hear you.
Showed that in 2015 alone. So
I'm not a technical engineer. I'm assuming that there's been greater advances in the bag house industry. I mean, there's ready mix facilities all over the country. I would say if they was that deadly, I don't see how they would be open. My father's 77 years old, and this is all he's ever done. You know, everybody's got a water bottle. I think it says on there it could cause cancer. So if you say that there is health risk to that, there's health risk to your bottled water, drinking too much water. So I don't know the technical, how much is too much, how much is not enough. All I know is we adhere to all the environmental restrictions that are put on us by whatever state we're operating in. And at our Gentry facility in this state, again, we've been visited 5 times in 3 years, and there has been no violations. There's been no write-ups. There has been nothing but a clean bill. We had our environmental study done at that facility. I believe that was given to everybody. And again, everything fell in to or below the requirements that we were supposed to have put on us by the state.
I appreciate that. Although I don't know how much comfort that gives me, because when I was doing this research, I called AEDQ. I specifically asked them what their regulations were for ready-mix plants when they go out and look at it from pollution and whatnot. And they could not give me any. They couldn't point me to a document. They couldn't give me. So I have no idea what they're comparing that against when they come out and do that. And I'm sure there's something to compare it against. But again, not having the basis for that makes it a little hard to understand really what's being looked at. So, and that's not your fault. That's just kind of where I'm at, right? My biggest concern is the health concerns, right? Like I said, Texas has a huge problem. Texas has a lot more, from what I can tell, considerably more regulations around this type of plant than Arkansas evidently does, given I couldn't find any. Texas requires a buffer zone of 440 yards from the nearest school, home, church to the plant. I know your plot at its longest length is 267 yards, so there's no way you can even get that 440 yards. And quite honestly, there's a lot of debate whether that's even enough and shouldn't be increased. So, I mean, that's my biggest concern is the toxicity of that dust. It's getting out. How good are the bag plants in maintaining that? And, you know, would like to see, because there was very little, and I looked. I tried hard to look, because I try to base everything I do on facts. And I couldn't really find a whole lot about those systems or how they worked, or like here, you know. I mean, a couple of statements they said is you need to make sure you maintain your bag systems. That's all they said, right? So, again, not sure from that standpoint. Okay, but yeah, I just need to get those concerns resolved to be able to support this. And one other thing I did, sorry, my note here. I would respectfully recommend that you go back and find the most recent ordinance with all the amendments, because I'm pretty sure this body passed an amendment that addresses what your lawyer says is not in the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Justice Massingo.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys would actually have an air permit granted by the ADEQ. Is that correct, or?
In Arkansas, you have to produce enough yardage to have a air permit. We have an air permit in Missouri. We don't, our facility's not large enough and it doesn't produce enough ready-mix concrete at this time to have one.
It's based on the volume?
Yeah, based on volume, yes, sir.
Okay. The other question, would you entertain so we're talking about hours of operation. I feel like saying that the typical hours are, as they're listed there, are probably not enforceable in any way. Would you be open to entertaining a start time restriction of, say, 5:30?
What would I do with, like they talk about how many homes are getting built, that many homes brings in children, needs a new school, add on to the school. What would I do if the school wants to pour during the school year and they want to start before the children show up?
Okay, I'll take that as a no.
So we plan on operating like every other ready-mix facility in the county and the state.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the court? Oh, I'm sorry, J.P. Lemming. Okay, J.P. Lemming.
Thank you, Chair. Well, we can talk about this all night. We can go on about dust. We can go on about a lot of things. But I want to thank you and your family for coming to Northwest Arkansas, coming to my area, because it's very much needed in our area to keep it competitive for the growth. We're going to have probably in the neighborhood of, between Prairie Grove and Lincoln, in the neighborhood of 1,500 homes built. And things is going to get bigger, schools and all that. Let's back up a little further. I worked for Latco. They own 3 batch plants. I was one of the guys that hauled powder that we keep talking about that's a mess. Powder it's like any other job or facility. If you're crazy and loose with it, you can make a mess in a hurry. Like this man said, concrete is the most expensive part of this whole process. And concrete is nothing but ground up limestone rock. It's a powder. And yes, if you get crazy, it will blow a little off. But today's times, the EPA and this business owner, like he's told you, is going to water it. You got to water, concrete takes a lot of water. And when you buy the concrete rock, don't have dust in it to begin with. It's pretty much straight rock. And the water in it helps them. When you put it in the trucks, you don't have to put that much more water. It helps them all the way around. And if he's going to have concrete driveways, yes, you're going to control the dust big time. And so to say the dust, and dust is a problem. But like he said, his dust house, his powder house, I've cleaned them powder houses, and they're not fun to crawl to the top of them and clean all that out. But you got to do it. You got to keep it clean. That's just part of the business. And he's going to do that. A lot of the problems I have where you're at, and I've spoke to you about this, the driveway you're going to have out in front of your business, there's going to be about 20,000 cars per day. I had a girl 16 years old killed in front of my shop about 3 weeks ago. Highway 62 is a disaster for traffic. I've lived here longer than Bud Kid Lake's been out there. All you folks that say you need to come by and look at it, no. I've watched Bud Kid Lake be put in when I was about 10 years old. I've watched all of y'all's houses be built out there. I know what used to be out there. It used to be pretty land and horses running around. Now we got a bunch of crazy people. And I'd just soon put a moratorium on building, period, in Northwest Arkansas, because I'm tired of it. The bypass wasn't even there. All the traffic was right by this courthouse going north. And I can talk all night about growth and change. It's here. It's coming. Your facility, they're going to do a good job, O'Brien's will. Now you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. You're going to have heck getting there because, you know, you're going to have a retention pond and you got a creek right by you. And I know how concrete works and I know how water works. I know how all that works. I've been involved in it for a long time. To say this, what Robert was saying about moving your facility, it's not a bad idea to move it because you're gonna have to fight to get it there. And a lot of the neighbors is concerned about dust and concerned about their livelihood and concerned about their peace, and I get it. I get it. I say every day, I don't want no more growth in my area because I got a beautiful, peaceful little farm that I know it's coming, and I don't want it to come, but it's coming, so I'm just gonna have to bear with it. To say all that to say this, I really want y'all here, and where you're trying to put it may not be the place it gets put, but I really want you in this area because we really need you. And so we'll continue with the discussion and get further ado. Thank you.
Further discussion by the, I'm sorry. Okay, next up, Judge Pond.
Don't apologize. I just now pushed the button.
Okay.
And I'm looking at this this sheet of paper that was handed out to me, the criteria for allowance of a conditional use. And I'm talking to you because there are concerns, and I'm going by, and I've been out and looked at the area. I've looked at the neighborhood. I've listened to the neighbors. And in this number 4 item in the criteria, that the proposed use is compatible with the surrounding area. Little girl, her backyard fence borders your property where you're going to put this. And that, I mean, that's, I'm unsure if that's really compatible. And number 5, established maintenance operation of the conditional use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, comfort, general welfare. There's been questions asked about that this evening, and we might not possibly be qualified to say one way or the other whether this could endanger somebody's health in that neighborhood. The conditional use, number 6, would it be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property? Fellow has a commercial business there, an animal clinic. You come in there when everything's really quiet and say it's the middle of the summer and you're needing to operate earlier hours so the concrete finishers can be through by noon, or it's not going to be very good for their health. Let's say you come in there at 3 in the morning and start that stuff up, which there are going to be times when that's probably necessary in the hot part of the summer. If you got dogs down there at that clinic that are not in good health anyway, they're going to be hearing all that. Not to mention that they may not be able to speak up for themselves. Well, they do a lot of howling and barking, but the dogs are not going to be enjoying it, and neither are the neighborhood. There's already a neighborhood there, people living right around that. We need your facility. If we're going to be concerned and comply with the notion of zoning, we got to look at that. Then the establishment of a conditional use permit will not impede the normal and orderly development improvement of the surrounding area for uses permitted in the zone. I don't think this is gonna be compatible with future development of single-family dwellings on 1-acre lots. Not to mention the ones that are already there. I don't like doing this, but I have to comply with what's been put before us. I've never voted for a zoning ordinance as far as the ordinance enabling county-wide zoning. Not the first time and not this last time, but it passed anyway, and I gotta comply with it. I've got to comply with that, and I do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution of the state of Arkansas and the Constitution of the United States. We've got it to do whether we like it or not. I can't be, I've got to vote no for this. And I've gone through criteria that I've got concerns with. And I pray that you find the appropriate place in this area to put your plant. It's much needed. Thank you for being patient with me.
Next up, JP Rios Stafford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I haven't been around on the Quorum Court long enough to have voted on our zoning ordinance twice in 2 decades, but God bless JP Pond, and I have to agree with a lot of what has been said. This feels like a square peg that's being put into a round hole, like JP Lemming said. I do agree that we need more concrete plants, and we probably need your concrete plant, and we'd like to have business development and economic development and industrial development in Washington County. We do want that. The question has to do with whether we want that in this particular location and whether we want to create a special permit to allow that in this particular location. Back in, before the first of the year, I went out around the site with my husband. First, we drove the road. So Highway 62 right there, you know, one of the things we have to look at is whether there's adequate road. There's sections of Highway 62 when you go further out going toward Lincoln where it becomes, where there's 2 lanes, you know, going in one direction or the other. In this particular section, there's only 1 lane in each direction, and it's on a curve. You know, I don't know if I'd go as far to call it a blind curve, but, you know, folks come pretty fast around there, around that curve. And I would say that with trucks coming out, slow-moving things, it would make me feel a lot better to approve a conditional use permit on a section of Highway 62 where there was 2 lanes, a passing lane, right? So there's a big truck coming out. Somebody's coming fast, they can move out of the way. They can move into the passing lane, and you don't have a problem with, as opposed to somebody having to slam their brakes on because you've only got 1 lane. That concerns me. The other thing that concerns me is some of the neighbors invited me out. The neighbors who live on the adjoining properties, the Molina family and the Navarro family, and I think some of them are here tonight. I walked around their properties with them and looked down. So this is, you know, behind all these properties, there's a hilltop, and it kind of stair steps down the hill. And so these 2 folks' property, it's almost like an amphitheater where this O'Brien property is down at the bottom, and you can stand at the pond, the Navarro's pond, and like look down into it, like you're almost, you know, touching it almost, it feels like. I mean, they're right there. I tried to measure on Google Maps the distance. You know, I felt like looking from the back wall of the Molina's house to where the proposed, not the property line, but where the actual proposed actual development is going to be, looked to me like about 350 feet. That's it. Someone passed out a map. Here, they've got a livestock shed. They have cows. They've got chickens on their property. They feed them there. From the livestock shed to the development looks about, according to this map, 210 feet. And the Navarros are about a similar distance. They're from their house. Their pond is right there. Their kids are right there. I know they've got a kid who's had some health issues. I talked to Mr. Molina a little bit. He told me about how sick he got during COVID and ended up in the hospital with, I think he said, pneumonia. And he still has like some permanent health issues from that, and felt like it was only through the grace of God that he recovered and got out of the hospital and survived that, and is able to still continue to be there for his family. And so I'm concerned about these folks who are just within just a few hundred feet of where this proposed spot is. Not to mention, there's a whole neighborhood back behind there, back below the berm, the dam for the lake. Within a quarter mile of this property, there's a whole neighborhood back there on Bill Campbell Road and Bob Kidd Lake Road. If you look at the concrete plant in Fayetteville over by Zero Mountain, there's one concrete plant up over there. I tried to measure that. Oh, there's two. Okay, well, I found one. I tried to measure that to where the closest home was. It seemed like that was, it was almost a quarter mile, I think, from the one concrete plant I found over to the closest subdivision. Quarter mile, not a few hundred feet. To me, I think that this doesn't fit what we have to look at in terms of compatibility, in terms of not being detrimental to the existing neighbors and the existing neighborhood and the enjoyment of their property. Like I said, we need concrete plants. We need stuff like this. We're a growing area, but the problem is in this particular spot, and I'm gonna have to be opposed to it. So thank you.
Next up, JP Lemmy.
Thank you. I just want to say a couple more things I forgot to say a while ago. As a concrete owner, I'd hate to put regulations on when he can work, because we poured the Tyson feed mill over in Westville, Oklahoma when I was helping them pour concrete, and that they used slip forms. It took us 7 days, 24 hours a day to do that job. And you're asking these guys if they get a Walmart slab, it's the same. Some of them jobs like that requires that once you start, you just got to continue on until you get done, because you just can't quit in the middle. And so for him to stand here and tell you exactly that he can't do that, and we got to give him the benefit of the doubt of that. That's a business owner. All these other concrete plants that's already operating in Northwest Arkansas is doing that, so it's not fair to them to tell them that they could only start at 7 and go home at 5. We'd love to do that, but you can't do that. And another thing, we keep talking about air quality for this gentleman on his concrete plant. I'd like for this Quorum Court to come out where Washington County allowed a company to come out and build 24 chicken houses on a dirt road out there. And I promise you folks, them people that live out there on that county road, it's a mess. Their houses is solid white, the trees is solid white, the whole road's solid white. They haul about 1,000 loads of chickens in and out of that place a year. And it's a mess for them people. That's dust problems. That's a real problem. This facility is not going to do nothing like what our county roads, the limestone gravel's doing to them folks out there. And we need to help them. We need to chip seal that for them, or we need to asphalt it, because we allowed them to build them chicken houses out there in a commercial setting, and it needs to be taken care of. We need to take care of that, as far as I'm concerned, with them people out there. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, JP Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I'm assuming we've entered into the phase where we have our discussion and we're past asking questions. because I didn't have questions right now, I did want to enter into the discussion.
Well, we
part of
have
our-
the applicant, I mean, the appellant hasn't presented yet.
Well, I don't know, I think if we're gonna have time later, I'll hold my comments until later, if that would be all right. But it sounded like we were almost, I don't wanna say wrapping up, because we know this is a process, but seemed like we quit asking questions some time ago, and I was ready to make my comments, but I will wait if I'm afforded the opportunity to do it later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Any more questions now? Okay, the chair, with the approval of the court, would like to call a 10-minute break. That would put us back here at, what, 8:25, 8:21? 8:21. Okay, can we do that? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have 2 minutes till we start back. 2 minutes.
I've been at work since 7 a.m. Tired.
I am too.
2 hours.
No, I
I
don't
mean,
think so.
they have 30 minutes.
Yeah, but I
Everybody's
think they see
gonna want to get up and say.
Well,
the
you may be
pledge.
right. You may be right. We have had 4-hour meetings, so you may be right.
2 minutes.
Sit down.
1 minute, okay.
Sit down now. Everybody take your seats. We're about to resume. Sit down.
Okay, we're at the 1 minute mark. Will everybody please take your seat so we can get started on time? I hate it when they slam it so loud. Okay. Almost time. Okay, 8:21. We're ready to start back. We'll start now. We'll hear the appellant. The meeting is in order.
Attorney for the appellants, some of the appellants. I wanted to be very brief with my comments. I wanted to talk about some things that Mr. Scott raised, a couple of things that came from around the horseshoe, and because I think, frankly, the people who live there are much more effective at speaking to you than I am, I'm going to let them talk. So, I wanted to address a point Justice Massengill brought up that deals with enforcement and fines. I have been through enough of these hearings with y'all, both just sitting out there and representing people, to know that that's been an issue. I would just point out to you that if they somehow violate the conditional use permit and the fine is the answer, it's $500 for an individual violation and $250 a day for a continuing violation. That's what your code says. I would respectfully submit to you that that is sort of the cost of doing business for an operation like this. So that's the first legal point I want to make. The second legal point I want to make, and I think that it shouldn't be lost on y'all, this is your decision. At the risk of having the four horsemen ride outside, I think Mr. Lester and I actually agree on this point. This is your decision. The Planning Commission cannot bind you by their recommendation. The law is clear on this point in Arkansas. Zoning and land use decisions, when they are put before the legislature, are a legislative decision. Period, full stop, the end. His talking about, well, Zegas, your clients don't have standing to bring the appeal and you must ratify, I respectfully state to you, is a misstatement of the law. Which comes to the next point. This is not a few naysayers. It's not people who don't have an investment in this. I like the points that Justice Pond and Justice Lemming brought out about you should respect people in the position of O'Brien who want to invest and bring things to the community. Mr. Scott's right. Justice Pond's right. Justice Lemming is right. We need concrete. That doesn't mean this is the right place for this plant. They can't tell you that they're only going to operate beginning at 5:30. Justice Massengill brought that point out rather elegantly. They've told you essentially that. Well, is it okay to start operations at 3 in the morning, 250 feet from these folks' bedroom window? Even if you take Mr. Scott's assertion that this is just a conversation. That is the noise this place will generate. I don't know many people who can sleep through a conversation between strangers in their bedroom at 3 in the morning. It is not compatible. There are 1,000 signatures on these petitions. This is not 35 people who showed up tonight. This is 35 people who represent the 1,000 people who are on these signatures. This is democracy. This is representative government the way it's supposed to work. These folks busted their rear ends, which comes to the next point. I appreciate the fact that they spent money and resources and brought it to the planning office and the planning commission. These folks, who I represent, their properties, they busted their rear end. They spend their money. Their houses, by and large, is the largest single expense they have in their lives. Their paychecks, by and large, go to their mortgage payments. That's the point. Justice Dennis basically made it. Their property rights matter too. And so, in terms of respect, I respect what they do. I respect that it needs to be done. They ought to respect the people they are trying to put this facility in front of, and they ought to respect you. And because I do, and because I respect my clients, I'm going to let them make the points, and I'm going to withdraw now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly Fuller. I own 16 acres right over that hill on Bobcat Lake.
I'm Sheila Phillips. I live at 16297 Bill Campbell Road, and I am the appellant against the CUP.
I am Ashley Hammer. I also live in Prairie Grove. I live in the Prairie Meadows community, which is less than a mile as the crow flies from where this will go.
I have asked Kimberly Fuller if she would to speak for me. I have had kind of a respiratory thing going, and when I speak for a long time, I get a little scratchy. So I've asked her if she would kind of be my voice here today and represent all of us in our community.
And we thought it would be appropriate for the three of us.
Can you get closer to the mic?
Yeah. Yes.
That's better.
We thought it would be appropriate for the three of us to stand up here because this is not just my effort. This is all of our effort, and there's a lot of people in the community who have provided information that is included in here. Can we go to the next slide, please? We have a technical problem, so my new friend back there in the blue is going to help me with this. I want to make the point that O'Brien said there's, 30-some people here tonight. There were over 100 residents who showed up in person to protest the approval of the CUP project at the Washington County Planning Commission meetings. This is our 4th meeting, and you can imagine trying to keep a community engaged to drive to Fayetteville for 4 meetings. It's hard, but it doesn't mean they don't care. At the Washington County Planning Commission meeting, we submitted 338 petition signatures in opposition in advance of that October meeting. They received 72 letters from citizens at that time. Since then, Mr. Zega showed you a pile of petitions. That was actually 1,457 voting signatures who are opposed to this plant. Residents feel that we were failed at the Washington County Planning Commission level because we did express significant opposition, but in the approval that you read, it didn't seem to be reflected there at all. So we want you to hear tonight the reasons that we think this should not be approved. And I want to say, first and foremost, I've gotten to meet some of you who have come out to the property, and I want to really thank you for that. It takes a lot of time out of your life to do this job, and I had no idea before, so thank you. As our legislative body, you are our voice, and we know you want to act in the best interest of your constituents. And I'm one voice here, but like I said, I'm not alone. Tonight I will demonstrate why our community is opposed to this CUP, and we're using scientific, peer-reviewed, and expert research and evidence, as well as photos and videos, We're not just sitting in our rocking chair drumming up stories. We have really good and valid reasons for requesting that you please deny this CUP under appeal. There are 7 criteria, as you know, for approval of a conditional use permit. I'm going to go through these and I'm going to show you how numbers 2 through 7 are to be denied. And we can talk about number 1 because I think that's not actually a green check mark, but I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt right now.
I'll turn them down.
So the first one is that the applicant has provided proof that each property owner, as set out in Section 5N, has been notified by return receipt mail. Here is a map. Can you go to the next slide, please? After that, there we go. I'll try to remember to cue you. Here is a map that shows the 91 residences that were mailed notification. 9 families did not receive a notification. That's 10% of the ones that were sent out. And Ken O'Brien actually proved that all necessary families were notified as that criteria states. Don't know. But the bigger point is that there are 91 residences within a half a mile. And that points to this being a residential dense area. And that zoning alone means that it's incompatible with heavy industrial use. Number 3 criteria is that adequate utilities, roads, drainage, and other public services are available and adequate or will be made so if the use is granted. This is a map of the area. You've got it. If you look at that little red dot right there by that lake, I don't know if you can see it. Right there. That is where the plant's going to go. That lake right above it is Bob Kidd Lake. It is on a dangerous curve in that road. You can see the road curving around the site right there. And you can see Prairie Grove. This is 200 feet from the Prairie Grove city property line. Next slide, please. This is a zoom in, and I thought this was important to show because the red area is where the plant will go. That funky little yellow triangle is to depict their driveway. And this shows that the Molina's family, could you stand up? They live 210 feet from where this plant is going to be. And the Alanis family, they live 300 feet from where this plant is going to be. And the child who just stood up, we have a letter in your packet from their doctor who says that they could suffer harm if this plant goes in. That's the child that it's referring to. The blue dots here are residences. So this is a zoom in. So this shows you how close these houses are. There's not just 2, there's a bunch. And the yellow dots are light commercial surrounding it. You can kind of see the vet in the lower right corner. He's right across from it. There is on the far left, see the guide that I have for residences and light commercial. Right under there is that transfer station. That is not a dump. It is a transfer station. Waste is brought there, it is covered, it is put on trucks, it was taken out. So it is not emitting toxic particulate. And then the other industrial locations that they had on their map are actually west of that are in Lincoln. So that wasn't even appropriate to bring up. And some other things like Coparts is not a salvage yard. It is an auction for insurance lot. So it's not really industrial either. Oh, and one thing I need to show you is, can we go back one? My bad. See that the creek, there's like a creek that flows. Thank you, Sheila. There's a creek that flows right there. It's gonna go right under their driveway. That creek is important. We'll go to the next slide. You can see that there's water in this creek now. This flows to Budkid Creek, then to the Muddy Fork, then to the Illinois watershed, and then near Bob Kidd Lake onto 10 Keller in Oklahoma. The Illinois watershed impacts the Illinois River and thereby some municipal water supplies and recreation, so the environmental impact of this plant could be very wide-reaching. We're not just talking about this local area anymore. We're talking about runoff going in this creek, spreading far and wide. All the trucks, so they talked about 6 concrete trucks, turn around about 1 an hour, they could. If they operate for 10 hours, plus all the supply trucks, the sand and the gravel, we could be talking about 60 to 100 trucks a day going over that driveway and over this creek. And you probably know Arkansas is in an ongoing lawsuit since 2005 with Oklahoma regarding pollution. The impact we're going to discuss tonight could give Oklahoma more ammunition against Arkansas. This creek also floods near Bill Campbell Road during heavy rain, so ground all around this area gets saturated. And topography really matters here. If you notice, you want to show them this part right here? Mm-hmm. So you notice where the plant is, and every line on that map is a 10-foot increase in elevation coming down from Bog Kid Lake. So you're correct. It is like an amphitheater. It backs up around that plant location. Rain will accumulate and run down this hill across the concrete plant site and must run into the creek because it's at the bottom. And O'Brien says they'll build a detention pond to store wastewater, but how effective will a detention pond be on a sloped piece of land where water and rain continually run downhill across the site and dump into that creek? So these are just a couple of pictures that show the slope, what it looks like. It's fairly steep. If we can go to the next one. These are pictures standing at a pond, and I have a picture later of that pond. Some of you have stood on the bank of that pond. And the picture on the right there, that shows the Prairie Grove School, 1.3 miles away. So still thinking about that criteria 3, let's talk about water. We've talked about water and rain coming down the hill, but let's actually talk about water that these guys need to run their business. Each concrete truck carries 10 cubic yards of concrete. An industry average is 40 gallons of water per yard. That's 400 gallons per load. At 60 trucks, we talked about 6 trucks, 10 runs a day because they come and go continuously. That math equals 24,000 gallons per day. Assuming they operate 5 days per week, that's 6,240,000 gallons of water needed per year. An industry estimate is up to 1,400 gallons of water is needed per day to wash out 6 trucks. That equates to about 364,000 gallons of wastewater per year. How do you get a detention pond big enough on 4.7 acres to hold 364,000 gallons of wastewater? And at one of our Washington planning meetings, O'Brien said that water would be clean enough for frogs and fishes. I don't think so, and I'll show you some pictures why I don't think so. The city of Prairie Grove has said it cannot supply water to O'Brien, which means that O'Brien does not have access to water utilities. The company will be required to drill a well. That's a well that sucks up over 6 million gallons of fresh water per year. Pulling this volume of water from the aquifer will likely cause the water table to drop, which could cause local residential wells to go dry, and some neighbors' wells already went dry this past summer due to drought. There's also a risk of contamination of the neighbors' wells. We talked about how that area gets saturated, and anything that is on that ground is going to soak into the ground and go into the groundwater. We have karst topography in our area, which means that once it soaks into the ground, it's going to spread real far. And there's a lawsuit against O'Brien by residents and gentry, and contaminated wells is one of the complaints. They also claim O'Brien's use of huge volumes of water floods certain parts of the neighbor's property. We talked a bit about Highway 62, an already dangerous two-lane highway. It's the main thoroughfare between Oklahoma and Northwest Arkansas. It sits on a curve in the road. The speed limit is 55 miles an hour and traffic moves fast. Each truck exiting the O'Brien site would have about 4 seconds to clear traffic. Can you play the video that, oh, I'm sorry, if you could flip. It took my slide away. Okay, so maybe what I can do is I can show you this.
Wait, we can't hear you if you're not in front of the microphone. I'm sorry.
Okay, maybe what I can do is show you. So we can count. Can you see that? It's kind of far. Is it worth doing?
I can't see it. but-
No? Okay, well, that's a video that shows traffic, and you can barely get 4 seconds in between if you count. If any of you want me to send that to you, I would be happy to do that, so you know that it's true. Can we go to the next slide, please? The one after that? Okay. So in terms of adequate utilities, roads, drainage, and other public services available and adequate, I think we've shown that there is a lack of sufficient utilities, water for this business. The volume of trucks is incompatible with this road and location and speed. Road damage from such heavy trucks will be borne by taxpayers. Further drain on limited state and county resources and the cost of wear and tear on vehicles. These two pictures are from Gentry, both ends of Old Highway 59, and it shows you some potholes and some fill there. And 4 seconds is not enough time for a truck weighing tens of thousands of pounds to clear oncoming traffic. Drainage of the property endangers a local watershed. So knowing that those trucks are going to go over that driveway and that is going to go into the creek and on to multiple water sources, there is a Washington County Ordinance number 1999-25, Article 3, that says that they can operate no closer than 100 feet from any natural or artificial, including but not limited to reservoirs, drainage systems, or area. And so if you allow trucks to go over this creek continually, it could be a violation of that ordinance as well. Number 4 is that the proposed use is compatible with the surrounding area. Next slide. I think we've talked about this a little bit. They say that there weren't many residential neighbors and the vicinity is made up primarily of industrial neighbors, and there are no immediate residential neighbors that would be negatively impacted. I think you've all talked about that and shown that that was not true and is misleading in the application. Even the background synopsis section of the county CUP approval on page 1 states the zoning is for agricultural and single-family residential use with a maximum density of 1 residential unit per acre. So even in the approval, the county says that it is not appropriate. They brought up the Fayetteville concrete batch plants. There's actually 3 in Fayetteville. And they were allowed to operate there. They've been there 20 to 30 years, and there's a law called primacy that means that any houses built after that plant is already there, they know that plant is there. They're aware. They can look up the potential health harms and the risks from living next to a concrete batch plant, and if they choose to do so, that's their choice. In this case, it's different because we are here first. And we are using the land as it is intended to be used as a residential agricultural area. So we have primacy. We have the legal right to use this land for its intended use. Number 5, that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the conditional use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. We touched on some of the health risks of living near a concrete batch plant. I want to show you that picture in the upper right corner. That is the top of one of their silos. That's an O'Brien silo. And you can see how black that is. So when they say there's no dust coming out, I think this picture says 1,000 words. Concrete mixing facilities emit toxic particulate matter, crystalline silica, and other air pollutants such as sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide, according to the EPA. Concrete can contain up to 25 to 70% silica, and exposure to respirable silica dust can lead to silicosis, lung cancer, and COPD, as well as asthma. Silica dust is 100 times smaller than a grain of sand and can be invisible to the naked eye. So even if you cannot see it, the Cancer Council says it can cause permanent scarring to the lungs. Gentry residents claim the plant there operated for months without filters. ADEQ does not enforce unless several complaints are filed. We also could not find regulations from ADEQ, and I don't think they have any teeth. So if you're counting on some regulatory body to control it, I don't think that's going to happen. O'Brien tells us that it's not a cement plant, but cement is a component and is forced into silos under air pressure. So those silos, when they said the trucks bring them in, the way that they bring them in, because the silos here, the trucks here, how do you get it? You blow it with forced air. So that forced air is pushing that highly toxic cement into silos, and some of that comes out. These particles and airborne toxins don't respect fences or zoning lines. Concrete dust can travel up to 9 miles depending on wind speed, and the dust's very tiny nanoparticles can travel up to 36 miles. And this is general information that you can research, and that's how we found this. This is particularly dangerous. Of the roughly 98 homes within a half a mile, so that's your 91 plus the people who didn't get one, of the half-mile radius of the proposed concrete batch plant, at least 25 of those have significant pre-existing health conditions. Doctors say some residents will have to move, and there is a letter in the packet of information from a doctor about that. And I want to point out, see how tall that silo is in the picture in the bottom right? The industry standard is 55 to 98 feet tall. So if you are going uphill from that, you're going to be closer to the top. And how do you plant trees around a site to abate dust coming out of the top of something 55 to 98 feet tall? First of all, you probably have to wait 30 years for those trees to get high enough to maybe catch some of it. And it's not just lung diseases. Other health impacts of concrete dust include cardiovascular disease, skin and eye irritation, and whole body toxicity due to heavy metal exposure. So yes, it is dust and gravel, but it does contain lead, chromium, cadmium. And there's a prevailing south wind at the proposed site, which will blow the toxic dust directly onto adjacent homes in Bob Kidd Lake and directly over into the community of Prairie Grove. And we do have elderly residents and young families and children, and the schools we talked about. The residents in Gentry suing O'Brien, public record case 04C4-2024, have documented medical harm.
Excuse me, I just want to remind you, or let you know you have 3 minutes left.
Okay. Well, there's some of the issues right there. Here are some of the noise is harmful. The industry standard is 80 to 100 decibels. That's comparable to a motorcycle or a jackhammer, not a conversation. And I think one of you brought up, how do you keep the trucks clean? Well, when the concrete gets hard inside, they use a jackhammer, it's called chipping, to get that out. Excessive noise disrupts sleep, which can cause anxiety, distress, and developmental delays, and the bowl shape of the geography is going to amplify that noise. This light, this photo, was taken from a county road, and it's significantly bright. I don't know how you keep light from going over your property lines when you're letting this amount of light go.
That is the Gentry plant, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Even plants don't thrive. So if you look at the picture on the left, you can see some of the trees don't have leaves, but some of those trees are dead. And that's because they don't do well with the alkaline change to the soil caused by concrete batch emissions. And that horse right there, that is the Alanis horse drinking out of the pond that is right next to their home. And it does affect animals. Chickens don't grow as well, they lay fewer eggs. Cows get respiratory disease. Some of this is going to blow into Bob Kid. If you could go to the next one, please. And this actually is a video that shows the lake, and there's tons of white pelicans there, but you can't see that. It's a 220-acre lake. And as the dust blows into that, will become alkaline and cause fish kills and algae blooms. And you have the power tonight to protect it and to protect us. Next slide, please. I think I've addressed all the items in number 5, so we're going to go quick. Number 6 is that it will not be injurious to the use and not affect property values. Next slide. Dr. Franz might have to move his clinic. I think we can argue that that is a community harm. And in terms of economic harms, my right to swing my fist ends where your nose begins. So in terms of causing harm, American Economic Association found that industrial sites significantly reduced nearby property values between 11 and 35%. And we have 2 letters in that packet from realtors who say that it's going to drop 15 to 20%. Next slide, please. That the establishment of the conditional use will not impede the normal or orderly development and improvement of the surrounding area for uses permitted in the zone. These are some of the uses. Next slide, please. Permitted in the zone. There's an apiary nearby. If this area becomes industrial, it will change the whole character of the area. Established businesses like a vet clinic will move out, and businesses with inherent risks to the community, like O'Brien's, will have a window to move in.
I'm sorry, that's your time unless someone. Second. Okay. All those in favor of giving them 10 more minutes, raise your hand. Any opposed? Raise your hand. Okay. You have 10 more minutes starting now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Why would O'Brien try to describe this area as industrial? Is because if it's shown to be industrial, that sets a precedent to let more businesses in. And like I said, if this becomes industrial, it'll change the whole character of this area. Next slide, please. There we go. This just shows you, if you stand at the bank and look across, this is what it looks like. It does not look like heavy industrial. Next slide, please. That's Bob Kidd Lake. Next slide, please. O'Brien claimed in the Washington County Planning Commission meetings they wanted to be a good neighbor. These are some pictures of some operations that they have. I think just by nature of their business and a residential area, it's really difficult to be a good neighbor. This company has, because of the lawsuit, I think that gives us some pause. And we believe they improperly washed out their trucks. And what you see here is the washout remnants of thousands of trucks. The actual washout where they're supposed to wash it out is on a concrete pad at the back of this picture on the left. And the white lines in there are chemical residues. The pictures on the right are a job site where they dumped the extra concrete just on the ground. They're supposed to be, again, at a residential construction site, there's supposed to be a box where they put that concrete. And in November 2025, the Benton County Emergency Communications said that they had to go out there because they were burning without a permit. And it claimed black smoke, a bad sulfur smell, and burning pallets. So is this a good neighbor? Next slide, you've got it. Okay, so these are some pictures. These are both videos, actually, and I think I will show one video here because it's really important. This light, that's across approximately 20 acres, that first picture on the left that you see. So the light travels quite far, and it's very, very bright. It almost sounds like it's going. Oh, is that the light one? Okay, can you click on the video on the right, please? There we go. That is, I believe, a blowout. This was taken on January 20th, around 6 in the morning. And you can see how much is coming out of the bottom of that silo. So when O'Brien says they don't ever do anything, they don't have leaks, I don't know what that is, but that doesn't look good. And when the video plays, can you play it again? You can actually see it blowing onto the neighbor to the right. Next slide, please. And that's, that's pretty far away because we didn't want to go on their property. So that's about 20 acres away. And you can even hear that roar that early in the morning. And I wanted to point out, too, that the person who took that video counted 10 to 12 trucks between 6 and 7:15 a.m. that morning, going in and out. So our request to you, as a community of Washington County constituents, we are simply asking for fairness, protection, and responsible planning. We ask that this facility be denied and forced to locate to an appropriate industrial zone, not a residential agricultural community where it could cause lasting harm to health, safety, property values, and the environment. We know there are many more suitable locations that will not cause this degree of harm. We had a community meeting where some folks came out and a couple people even said, I'll buy that property from them, if they want to sell it. So you could consider that. We want to protect our city and outlying communities from the same damage that was done in Gentry. We're not against growth and the materials it will take to achieve this, and we're not against O'Brien specifically, but a concrete batch plant needs to be in an appropriate and legal location. For all the reasons in this document, we request that you deny this CUP. And the last slide. So even number one, the one about the application being filed, that the time they said 5:30 a.m., they admitted in the Washington County Planning Commission that they often start much earlier, sometimes as early as 3 a.m. If you know that, and that's a normal business routine, why not put that in your CUP? And the other things about having no residential neighbors, that's why this is now orange, because I'm not sure that they actually meet that criteria. I also want to say a couple of other things based on their presentation, and they said that they tested and everything at their sites is good. My understanding is that sometimes when they come out to do this testing, they do single source testing. They test at one specific point. O'Brien gets to pick it where they're going to test, and they test in that one location. So who knows if it's operating at full capacity or if that silo is active at the place where they test. I'm not saying that they're doing that. I just want you to be aware of this is what we know about how things like this are tested. And Prairie Grove does need concrete. I think we've all agreed on that. Let's just move this thing further out. I just want to say, I think the other point that I wanted to bring up was someone had said that maybe this needs like 20 acres at a minimum. I would request as a citizen that maybe the council should consider that for high-intensity industrial uses, maybe there should be a minimum 20-acre requirement so that people around them are protected from their operations. Just a thought. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, we want to say thank you for you guys. You guys did your due diligence.
If you would step up to the microphone, please, ma'am.
Thank you again for your due diligence that you did in listening to all the aspects of this and spending your time coming out and looking at the location. I do really appreciate that. The community appreciates that, and I hope that you hear that from your community.
Thank you. There's, 2 minutes left?
Yeah.
There's 2 minutes left of this, 10 minutes. No one else? So if that's all, then I'm going to bring this matter back to the court for discussion. J.P. Ecke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. After listening to both sides, and I wanted to wait until both parties had the opportunity to share their side, their vantage point, or their discussion, their whatever. There you go. I am not going to approve this conditional use permit for the reasons of the utilities. Infrastructure must be adequate to facilitate the demands of the population, and obviously the Prairie Grove Utilities District, Water District, is not able to support this demand at this time. Secondly, is it the compatibility with the surrounding areas? Absolutely not. It's in the heart of the neighborhood. I mean, the very heart of it. And I've had people tell me that they enjoy Bobcat Lake. They go out there to enjoy it with their families, and this would be just a detriment to that enjoyment. So to me, it's not compatible with the surroundings. The operation should never harm the public health, safety, comfort, or welfare. And the current information shows that the O'Brien Ready Mix would negatively impact the community's health. We have to be responsible, and our children are the next generation, and we care about them, and we need to invest and protect them the best way we can. And no business should ever, ever cause any harm. Let's learn the lessons from way back when in other states that Niagara Falls, that property was purchased, then it was sold to the city, and they buried nuclear waste, never thinking that rains would come and those barrels would pop up. But during that time, they built a neighborhood right on top of that property. And 80% of the people in that neighborhood came down with cancers. We don't need to do that. We don't need to have anything in our neighborhoods that harm our residents. So for that reason, E on ours, and it should not detract from the use and enjoyment of the neighboring areas. Bobcat Lake, hello. Should not hinder orderly development or improvements nearby. The veterinarian clinic would have to move. And for that reason, and it would disrupt his business, and I can see how. But I want to just go on the record that those are the reasons why I'm going to deny the conditional use with my vote. Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you for everybody that has come out. Thank you for the emails. Oh my gosh, the emails. I tried to respond to some of them, Madam Chairman, but it just kept on getting bounced back saying that no, that email is not. So for anybody to think that we didn't care, didn't respond, it was difficult for some. I don't know what the issue was, but and the phone conversation, they were very good. I wasn't able to go out there, but just seeing the presentation and really considering both sides, because I am very much pro-business and I'm very much property rights. But this one you have to balance and do what is right and to protect the health and well-being of our citizens. So thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Next up, we have J.P. Robert Dennis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move that we deny the O'Brien Ready Mix Facility, CUP.
Okay, we have a motion by J.P. Dennis to deny the O'Brien CUP, and we had a second by, I'm sorry. Oh, J.P. Dean, okay.
It's really just a request to read for the first time.
Oh.
Because there's not really a motion until we get to the third reading and then we move to pass.
Oh, okay, okay.
It caused some confusion last time, but it's
Right.
not a technical motion.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're on our first reading here, so it wasn't technically a motion. Oh, okay. J.P. Wilson, what was your question? Oh.
Well, it sounded like we were about to vote. I wasn't aware we were done with the discussion. portion of this evening.
I don't think we're done with the discussion.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that and make sure, because, I mean, there's probably things that still need to be said, or things that.
Okay, go ahead, and then Mr. Lester said, go ahead and speak, and then he'll read it.
Okay, but I mean, that would afford me the opportunity to speak as a part of this discussion, but I don't know if it would. I just want everybody to be able to speak before we finally vote.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
And if it's my turn now, if the chair recognizes me, I'll go ahead. But
Well, J.P. Dennis was, how do we do about that? J.P. Dennis.
I can yield. I'll yield to anything else that they needed to say.
Were you? It was an improper motion, though. Well, just a moment. Are you?
I've made the motion. Only thing else I can say.
Just a minute. No, just a minute. Here we go. Okay. Now, J.P. Dennis.
Okay. I'd like to suspend the rules and read it for a second time.
It hasn't been read for one. Yeah, we did it.
Okay. Well, I thought I'd made the motion.
It was an improper
Did
motion,
not?
J.P. According to Attorney Lester, it was an improper motion.
Okay. I move that we deny the O'Brien Ready Mix Facility High Intensity CUP. Put it on the first reading.
Okay, we have a motion by J.P. Lyons to move it, to put it on its first reading. I mean, J.P. Dennis, I'm sorry, and I didn't know who seconded it. Oh, J.P. Ricker was second. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, sorry, discussion. Discussion from the court?
I'll go now, but I see 3 red lights. I don't want to step out of turn.
I had a cue to create.
Okay. Bear with me. There's a couple of things I wanted to say even quite some time ago, just for the purpose of clarity in our discussions. I really appreciate everyone who's here tonight, and both sides have done a very good job at presenting their case, and I appreciate all of that. I'm glad that we try to look at all sides of an issue. I just wanted to say that to my colleagues, and of course you can vote however you want, and I'm not making a case right now for or against anybody, but I am saying that much has been said about one issue that I wanted to address. As a justice of the peace, you can use any rationale that you want. Most all the time I see we use rationale that's supported by these criteria, and I appreciate that. You can't argue with that. There are reasons for you to vote no for this if you choose, but there's been a lot said tonight about this dust issue, and I wanted to speak to it. I have some anecdotal evidence. I grew up around some of this. My father had a construction business that did masonry restoration. It's not the same thing as concrete, but when you're putting new mortar in bricks on brick buildings, you have some of the same ingredients. And of course, we were in and out of concrete facilities all of the time, either purchasing some materials or sometimes we did concrete jobs. I breathed some dust in the process as a teenager and as a young adult. I didn't really breathe it on the side of the concrete facility, though. I breathed some of it on the job site where we did some of our own mixing. Thank goodness I don't think it harmed me, but I will say that sometimes there's some dust if you start throwing together a bunch of materials, even if it's a small operation like we sometimes had, and we did use cement. However, I wanted to say also, I kind of push back a bit on the notion that we're going to have dust covering half of Prairie Grove, and I'm not belittling anyone's concerns. Everybody has stated their case very respectfully, provided some research, provided some good testimony. I appreciate all of that, but I try to stay away from an, oh my gosh, this is going to do X, Y, or Z. I really, there's a lot of things, I've said this in here before, a lot of times what we fear the most isn't ever really as bad as we might think. That's not me making a case for this facility. That's not me speaking out against those who are against the facility either. But I just wanted to say that sometimes things get blown a little bit farther than they should. And what I wanted to say is, even in the town I grew up, a small Arkansas town, there was a concrete production facility there. And ironically enough, it was on Highway 62. As you know, the highway goes all the way across the state. There was, butted right up against this facility where I grew up, was a Walmart, a Pizza Hut, an appliance facility. I forget the name of the business. They sold appliances. There was a small growth of trees. Right on the other side of them was residential area. Those were all, I mean, very close. And I'm talking about I could stand by a Pizza Hut and throw a rock and hit a concrete truck. And not just me. I mean, I was no baseball star. I didn't have an arm, but anybody could. It was that close. You could stand in Walmart's parking lot, you could throw a rock and hit a concrete truck. Now, the reason I'm saying this is not just to tell good old stories, but to say the whole time I was there growing up, and even when I was a young adult there, nobody ever said, oh my gosh, I don't want to go to Walmart because I don't want that concrete dust all over my car. Nobody ever said that. Nobody ever said, I don't want to go to Pizza Hut because I'm afraid that there's going to be too much dust. I mean, these things were right there. I mean, it wasn't like they were 50 feet away from this place. It was more like some of the, the Walmart parking lot was 30 feet away from where they were pulling the trucks in and out. So I said all that not to go to bat for this facility, but just to say there needs to be balance in all of our deliberations. Is there some dust when we have a ready-mix plant? There is sometimes right on the site. But we've heard about how that is mitigated or is supposed to be mitigated. It doesn't mean that there's dust being spewed out all over a community. It just doesn't happen. And also, I wanted to say that I did some research on this. Of course, the business I mentioned that my dad started, my brother runs it now. I called him and I said, he's still in and out of concrete facilities. I said, is there any problem where some of these are, in the Jonesboro area? I said, do they have problems with dust getting in any residential areas? Any complaints about that? He said no, and he told me where the largest production was in that area, right on the edge of Jonesboro, which is about the only place on that side of the state that might be vibrant, is not nearly as vibrant as we are here, but a lot of concrete being produced. So I had to do some checking on that. I read some articles also that were researched on this issue of dust related here. Some of them might have been the same that J.P. Lyons mentioned earlier. They made some good points. I wanted to take all that into consideration, but I did see that the person who wrote the articles that I looked at was an environmental activist. And sometimes they run hard and loose with some information. I'll just say that in front of anybody. So it made me wonder, okay, is this an objective report or not? So we can hear all kinds of things about dust is a problem or dust is not a problem. It certainly can be mitigated when an operation is run right. But like I said from the beginning, everyone here can vote however they want. I'm just saying that if you vote no, you shouldn't do that on the allegations of dust alone. Because if it was that dangerous, we wouldn't have concrete plants anywhere. And we've all admitted that this concrete facility, we would like it to be here somewhere, and some people have even said just not right here. Okay, I would concede that. But I also know that if we have an operation like this in Washington County, there's only two choices. It's going to be in the city limits somewhere. It's going to be out in the county somewhere. It's only two choices. And we can deny this here, and you have every right to do that. But if they want to put it somewhere else in Washington County, we're going to hear the same argument from a lot of other people in another part of the county. And are we going to say yes to it then in the face of the same arguments that we said no to it here tonight? I mean, I'm just wanting us to be consistent because in many people, not my words, but the words in here, a lot of people said, we know we need concrete. We know this place is growing. We know there's more and more construction going on. It's just going to happen. Well, we can't get in the business of saying no, no, no to an operation and then yes when they try it the fourth time. I don't think we want to do that. I don't think any business would want to have to do that either. And I'm not even urging anybody to vote any certain way. I'm just saying there's some things that we need to think about as a body. One is every allegation, every contention that's made, every claim that's made, there should be tempered somewhat with some balance, because there always is some balance to be said. That's why people have debates. But I wanted to say that, and to say that we want to be welcoming to industry, and a concrete facility, no matter where it is going to have neighbors in our county. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next up, J.P. Lyons.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Next up, Mr. Lester, did you? No, you didn't have anything? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I really want to talk. I'm going to let you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam
JP
Chair.
Hires.
Thanks. Yeah, I only asked questions earlier, and I kind of saved my reasoning for at the end, like JP Ecke did, to give everybody a chance to say what they needed to say and listen to all the arguments. And I won't talk about dust at all. Instead, I want to talk about going through the criteria. I'm not going to read them to you. You probably know them by heart at this point. But you know, as far as the application, I brought up some questions. I find some of the language problematic, but that doesn't have anything to do with why I'm voting the way I am. I went out to the properties. I sat on the pond. I looked down into the fishbowl of where this concrete plant is wanting to build. We were pulling out of the site to go back into the neighborhood. Some of the neighbors were taking me around, and we had to haul out of there because there was so much traffic coming so quickly at us around that curve. For me, you know, when we're talking about the adequate roads, utilities, drainage, the road really scares me. That curve is dangerous. If you have heavy trucks coming in and all the local traffic, that is one of the reasons that I am voting to deny this. Also, number 4 on the list, about compatibility. I wanted to bring this up because in the slideshow from O'Brien, they were talking about compatibility to mean property taxes and infrastructure and jobs, which is great for the compatibility of the county, but we're supposed to consider the compatibility of the people that live right next door. Not, does this fit into the county? Does this fit in with the neighbors? And it absolutely doesn't. The lighting, the noise, they're going to be above this. So that if you went to the property and you stood on that land, you're looking down onto it. There's no way to shield the lighting. There's no way to shield the noise. It's going to come right up. I'm thinking about these children that I saw that are going to be coming into my classroom because they haven't slept the night before because of the sounds that are coming on. And I don't want that for these families. The fifth thing was about endangering the public health, safety, comfort, or general welfare. I'm not going to talk about dust at all. I don't know enough about dust, but I will talk about comfort. And again, all of those families, the business is telling us that they're not going to operate between the hours of 5:30 to whatever time they said on their application. They're letting us know in advance. They're not going to do that, that it's going to start a little earlier. And I understand they have to do that, but that means that this is not the location because of the families there. Sixth up is injurious to the use and enjoyment of the property and diminishing of property values. If you'd been to the property, if you had seen, you would know this is going to be detrimental for those families that live there. It's a beautiful piece of property, lovely farms, 300 feet away from where this plant is going to go. It will impact their property values. And I just wanted to go on record as to why I was voting the way that I am, and I will be voting against this. Thank you.
Okay, further discussion? Oh, my God, sorry.
Just to do
JP
a quick iteration of that, I agree with Ms. Hires on the establishment, maintenance, or operation of conditional use will not be detrimental to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. Not too worried about the concrete plant affecting the morals of the county. However, and the public health is maybe not, but I do believe there is a safety question and it will affect comfort and general welfare of the neighbors. And saying that, I will be voting for denying of it. And since no one else is lit up, I'd like to call the question.
So before I read, I just want to say that there is a Scrivener's error on line 14 of this ordinance. The date it lists as June 5th. That should have been October 30th. So if this passes, I just want you all to know that that will be changed and corrected, just a simple little date.
But we don't need to make a motion for that.
Not necessarily, no. You can, if you would like.
Okay, we have an amendment by J.P. Lemming to change in the first sentence of the first whereas clause, we changed that from June 5, 2025 to October 30th, 2025. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
No, okay. So we need to vote on that. Do we need to call?
There's a second. Got a second yet?
Okay. And second by Charles Dean. Okay. Do we need a roll call? Correct?
No.
No.
Voice vote.
Okay.
No,
all
just
those
one.
in favor of the amendment made by J.P. Lemming and seconded by J.P. Dean, raise your hand. Okay. All opposed? Okay. So we have the corrected in the first whereas clause. It now will say whereas at the October 30th, 2025 meeting. And
an ordinance denying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the Planning Board of Adjustments for the O'Brien Ready Mix Facility High Intensity CUP project.
that was the first reading, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I'd like to suspend the rules and read for a second time.
Okay. J.P. Ricker, you. Oh.
Motion to suspend the rules and pass the second reading. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by J.P. Ricker, seconded by Charles Dean, to move it on to its second reading. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Any opposed? Raise your hand. Okay.
An ordinance denying An ordinance denying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the Planning Board of Adjustments for the O'Brien Ready Mix Facility High Intensity CUP project.
Okay. That was the second reading.
I would like to, Madam Chairman, I would like to suspend the rules and read for a third and final time.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by J.P. Dennis to suspend the rules and move to its third and final reading. And I'm not sure, was that J.P. Hires?
I'll take it.
J.P. Hires made the second? Okay. Okay, all those in favor of suspending the rules and moving this ordinance on for its third and final reading, please raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. Okay, thank you.
An ordinance denying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the Planning Board of Adjustments for the O'Brien Ready Mix Facility High-Intensity CUP Project.
Okay, this is the time for final discussion now. We're correct, no? Oh. JP Dennis?
Okay. I move that we read.
No, we're there. We're there.
Oh, okay. I'd like to move to pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by JP Dennis to pass this ordinance. We have a second by JP Hires. Any more discussions by the court? Oh, JP Dennis, did you? Oh, okay. I don't see anybody. Okay. Okay, so we're ready to call the, oh, my gosh, how can I forget that? I'm so sorry. Public comment, 12 minutes, 3 minutes each. Oh.
Oh, ask for a roll call and not just.
Oh, we have to on that, yeah.
Yeah, right. Public comment, anyone? Okay, Mr. Allen, seeing no public comment, will you call the roll, please?
Justice Ricker. Yes. Yes. Justice Pond. Yes. Yes. Justice Wilson.
I'm confused on the language here. Voting to deny.
Motion.
If you vote yes, you're denying the conditional use permit. Yes.
Yes. Justice Massengill. Yes. Yes. Justice Lyons. Yes. Justice Ecke. Yes. Yes. Justice Dean. Yes. Justice Washington. Yes. Yes. Justice Koger.
Yes.
Yes. Justice Dennis. Yes. Yes. Justice Hires. Yes. Yes. Justice Rios Stafford. Yes. Yes. Justice Lemming. Abstain.
The motion to deny, ordinance number, to deny 90B passes. Thank you. Okay, I have one question for Attorney Lester. What about the second ordinance?
We don't have to worry about
We don't have to worry about that. Okay? Okay, I have a motion.
You can adjourn without a motion.
Oh, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.